Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
I'm here to tell you tonight that the businessmen, the mayor of this city, the police commissioner of this city, and everybody in the white power structure of this city must take a responsibility for everything.
Can you feel it?
Luther and I, and everyone in this arena tonight, are unified by the same great American values. We're proud of our country. We respect our flag. Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Race is when you use your power and influence to subject people into inferiority. Utterances can't be racist.
Look around you, man. They own this shit. They own this couch you sitting on, them shoes you got on your feet, this building, this school, this country, you. We're behind enemy lines, dog.
So you must first of all remember that this system was not originally designed with black people in mind. Right on, and it definitely was not prepared for black people to, in the end, begin to demand their rights and an equal share in this country which they've died for. Right on. Hey, and we definitely are not going back to Africa.
In the church, we used to sing the song, "Good news, the chariot is coming." While you sit here today, knowing that you have come to hear good news, you must realize in advance what good news for you might be bad news for somebody else. What good news for the sheep might be bad news to the wolf.
They say, oh, things are getting so much better for you. In 1849, they was hitting blacks on the head 100 times a day. In 1990, they hit them 48 times a day. Isn't it better? Oh, it's got to be better. You're saying 52 blows.
The only purpose of most black Americans on earth today is to destroy.
I think that's noble. Italians love Italians. When Irish love Irish. But when a nigga loves a nigga, it's an unpardonable sin. They have blood in their hands. When we say they have blood in their hands, we are not saying him, George Bezos, went and killed. But white people colonized us. They dispersed us. They enslaved our people. They sucked our economy dry. They are still sucking it dry even today. That's white people. Tony Blair, George Bush, Napoleon Bonaparte, Leopold, Adolf Hitler, Benjamin Netanyahu. All white people, they are the same. They are racist and they are full of hate.
I've been waiting for you. You have many questions, and though the process has altered your consciousness, you remain irrevocably human. Ergo, some of my answers you will understand, and some of them you will not. Concordantly, while your first question may be the most pertinent, you may or may not realize it is also the most irrelevant.
Why am I here?
Our world is coming crumbling down. The coons are coming.
You have to understand that white America has an uncanny way of making the victim the victimizer. Excuse me, master, for putting my head in the way of your club. Not that your club is brutalizing my head and putting hickeys on it. My head got in the way of your free swing and broke your shiny stick, and I want to apologize for that.
Your life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherent to the programming of the Matrix. You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision. While it remains a burden assiduously avoided, it is not unexpected and thus not beyond a measure of control. which has led you inexorably here.
There are more connections in the human body than there are stars in the galaxy. We possess a gigantic network of information to which we have almost no access.
Matrix is older than you know. I prefer counting from the emergence of one integral anomaly to the emergence of the next, in which case this is the 6th version.
5 months before. There are only 2 possible explanations. 5 months before. Either no one told me, or no one knows.
Precisely. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equations.
Can't control me! I'm gonna smash you to fucking death! Let me show you! You can't make me do anything like Chris!
Choice. The problem is choice.
Let us remember that we are not brutalized because we're Baptists. We're not brutalized because we're Methodists. We're not brutalized because we're Muslims. We're not brutalized because we're Catholics. We're brutalized because we are black people in America.
Because white people made him to be what he is. They made him to look evil, because that's their role, to make all of us black people to look evil and to hate ourselves. I can't hate.
You're a nigga till you die. If you're a poor nigga, you're a poor nigga. If you're a rich nigga, you're a rich nigga. But you never stop being a nigga. And if you get to be educated, you're just an educated nigga.
I'm told every day I'm on air that I'm racist because I call out racism. That is maddening to me, and I'm crying about it because it's crazy.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching you and I and trying to tell the white man to get this powder keg out of his house. Let the black man separate from his house. Let the black man have his own house. Let the black man have his own land and his own property.
I thought the bitch was white! Damn it! I thought the bitch was white!
That's true.
I think that white people are so guilty, knowing what they've done to black people, that they feel if the deeds were reversed, they would hate the black man if he had done the same thing to them. So it's actually, it reflects a guilt complex on the part of whites when they ask us, do we hate them? And if you notice, Uncle Sam has formed a habit of going all over the world. He calls it the ugly American, or the American image. He thinks that everybody hates him because it's a guilt complex. And if you think that if you are worried about Europeans hating you, and they're your allies and your cousins, well, naturally it would follow for you to think that Negroes in this country would hate you, especially in light of what has been done to black people in this country by white people.
Now, check it out. The white ball dominates everything, right? Knocks the shit out the yellow ball, the red ball, right? And the game's over when the white ball drives the black ball completely off the table.
But you have to see that all of this is hypocrisy.
I love Malcolm. Malcolm called me the Sunday that he died. I was working Basin Street East. He said, "Brother Greg, you coming by today?" And I said, "Malcolm, I love you." And I said, "I love you so much, I don't even want to take a chance to be there." He said, "What do you mean, Brother Greg?" I said, "Well, I close tonight, Sunday night at Basin Street East." And I said, "But I had my wife book me a flight into Chicago at 8 o'clock this morning, and I'm going to Chicago, and I had way beneath my salary booked me into a college about 10 miles from the airport. And I'm going to go there and speak this afternoon, and I'm going to stay there until they tell me you dead. Because I'm not going to let this government get 2 of us for the price of 1. And I'm going to call Adam Clayton Powell when I finish talking to you and beg him not to come there. Because today, the United States government is going to get you."
Hey, how's everybody doing this evening? I'm your host, the Whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, coming to you with another thought-provoking show. Being August 26, 2018, I want to I thank those who are sitting in the audience, whether you're an agent or a subscriber or just a passerby. Welcome to the Mr. Blows Your Mind show. My show is based on the fact that I'm going to bring the scene, the landscapes, the picture, the aspect, where the earth meets the sky, the angle, the slant, the turn of mind, where we are coming from the spirit, as a descendant of the greatest people that ever assembled in this United States. I ask that my ancestors bring forth in my mind, heart, and spirit as I try to bring forth these truths to the hearts of those listeners and those who participate in this show. These opinions are mine, but the truth has no partner. Well, I know I took a couple days off. Again, I was fine-tuning everything. For those who know what I've been struggling with for a couple of days, trying to get this show on point. I hope that the intro is crisp and clear as the way I want it to be. Now, before I even go on, I want to make sure that, let me check, if anybody out there would like to let me know that they can hear me clearly, concise and clear. I finally get a live chat. Okay, out of the box. Okay, can you hear me though? Can you hear me out the box? Give me a 1 if you can hear me clearly. I don't know how much of a live chat you're going to get tonight, but, you know, because I'm going to drop something tonight. So if anybody out there is willing to let me know if you can hear me clear, concise, let me know. Can I get a 1 from somebody, please? Otherwise, I have to assume that everything else. I hear you, bro. Okay, thanks a lot, Trill Figure. Okay, thanks a lot, brother. All right, so it being 8/26/2018, I don't know if it's going to allow me to do it tonight. It looks like it want to give me a little problem tonight. But since so much is going on, okay, thanks, Mr. Spencer, 0620. Oh, it's a little bit too loud? Okay, maybe I have to turn it down a little bit. So let me do a little adjusting and tell me whether it's too much. Okay, let me try now. What about now? Is it too much? Turn your volume back up and let me know if it's too excessive or not. So that way I can adjust it as I go. Because, I'm doing live, so I can't really tell. It's different than when I'm doing videos. Okay, so let me see what's going on out there. What's being said. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm assuming everything's good. Okay, so, all right, let me see. Looks like everything wants to try to do what I want to do. All right, so, again, today being 8/26/2018, what my segment start off now is, what I try to do is I try to bring a little bit of history, especially on this particular date. Since I hadn't been on for 2 days, I got a history or two for the days prior, but I also got a video tonight for you guys. So let's take this date of August 26th. We're going to go back to 1874. 16 black men were held in Gibson County Jail in Trenton, Tennessee. The men had been transferred to the neighboring jail from Pickettville after being accused of shooting 2 white men. However, in the early mornings, a contingent of 400 to 500 masked men rode into town with shotguns and demanded that they were given access to the men in jail. The jail attendant was ordered to give the mob leaders the key to the cells. The members of the mobs then bound the hands of the 16 black men and led them away. The jail attendant later testified of hearing shots fired in a series in the distance. When the jailer went out to investigate what happened, he found 6 of the men lying along Huntingdon Road. 4 of the men were dead, and their bodies were pumped with bullets. The 2 men were found alive, later died as well. The bodies of the 10 remaining men were found at the bottom of a river about 1 mile out of town. Local officials denounced the lynching and concluded that the men were killed by gunshots that were fired by unknown parties. The white townspeople were becoming fearful that the black people were arming themselves and planned to retaliate against them. The mayor of Trenton ordered officials to collect all guns belonging to blacks. If blacks refused to hand over their guns, they were threatened, and some were ultimately shot. This is the history that happened in the massacre of 1874. 16 black men in Trenton, Mississippi, on this day 8/26/1874. So, okay, I'll bring some of the comments out there again. If you put some out there, if I can catch it as I'm going along, I will speak on it. If not, I just have to kind of just keep going. So I don't want to get too untangled on that. But so that also happened on this day. And this, I also got something else that I want to also share. Let's see if I can find that real quick. Let me do this too, because the video that I'm going to show you tonight has something to do with this. Because we have to ask ourselves, all the stuff that's going on, particularly when we look in Chicago and just around this country, some of the issues that some of us have with police officers. Again, there are good cops and there's bad cops. And then just taking the history of it, let's just see what it says on that. So, all right, we're going to look at how the U.S. got its police force, right? It would be easy to think that the police officer is a figure who had existed since the beginning of civilization. That's the idea on display in the proclamation from President John F. Kennedy on the decision or dedication of the week of May 15 as National Police Week, in which he noted that law enforcement officers had been protecting Americans since the nation's birth. In fact, the United States police force is a relatively modern invention, sparked by changing notions of public order, driven in turn by economics and politics. According to Gary Potter, a crime historian at Eastern Kentucky University, policing in colonial America had been very informal, based on for-profit, privately funded systems that employed people part-time. Towns also commonly relied on a night watch in which volunteers signed up for a certain day and time, mostly looked out for fellow colonists engaging in prostitution or gambling. Boston started one in 1636, New York followed in 1658, Philadelphia created one in 1700. But that system wasn't very effective or efficient because the watchmen often slept, drank while on duty, and there were people who were put on watch duty as form of punishment. Night watch officers were supervised by constables, but that wasn't exactly a highly sought after job. Either early policemen did not want wearing badge because these guys had bad reputations to begin with, and they didn't want to be identified as people that other people didn't like, said Potter. When localities tried compulsory service, if you were rich enough, you pay someone to do it for you. Ironically, a criminal or community thug. As the nation grew, however, different regions made use of different policing systems. In cities, increasing urbanization rendered the night watch system completely useless as communities got too big. The first publicly funded, organized police force with officers on duty full-time was created in Boston in 1838. Boston was a large shipping commercial center, and businesses had been hiring people to protect their property and safeguard the transport of goods from the port of Boston to other places, says Potter. These merchants came up with a way to save money by transferring to the cost of maintaining police officers to citizens by arguing that it was for the collective good. In the South, however, the economics that drove the creation of police forces was centered not on protection of shipping interests, but on the preservation of the slavery system. Some of the primary policing institutions there were the slave patrols, tasked with chasing down runaways and preventing slave revolts, Potter says. The first formal slave patrol had been created in Carolina colonies in 1704. During Civil War, the military began the primary form of law enforcement in the South, but during Reconstruction, many local sheriffs functioned in a way analogous to the early slave patrols, enforcing segregation and the disenfranchisement of freed slaves. In general, throughout the 19th century and beyond, the definition of public order that which police officers were charged with maintaining depended on whom you ask. For example, businessmen in the late 19th century had both connections to politicians and an image of a kind of people most likely to go on strike and disrupt their workforce. So It's no coincidence that by the late 1880s, all major U.S. cities had police forces. Fear of labor union organizers and a large waves of Catholic, Irish, Italian, German, and East European immigrants who looked and acted differently from people who had dominated cities before, drive the call for preservation of law and order, or at least a version of it promoted by dominant interests. For example, people who drank at taverns rather than at home were seen as dangerous people by others. But they might have pointed out other factors such as how living in smaller homes made drinking in a tavern more appealing. The irony of this logic, Potter points out, is that the businessmen who maintained this belief were often the ones who profit off of the commercial sales of alcohol in public places. At the same time, in the late 19th century was the era of political machines. So police captains and sergeants for each precinct were often picked by local political parties, ward leaders, who often owned taverns or ran street gangs that intimidated voters. They were able to use police to harass opponents of that particular political party or provide payoffs for officers to turn a blind eye to all illegal drinking and gambling prostitution. This institution was exacerbated during the Prohibition, leading President Hoover to appoint the Wickersham Commission in 1929 to investigate the ineffectiveness of law enforcement nationwide. To make police independent from political party ward leaders, the map of police precincts was changed so that they would not correspond with political wards. The drive and the professionalism of police followed, which means that the concept of career cop, as we recognize it today, is less than a century old. Further campaigns for police professionalism was promoted as the 20th century progressed, but crime historian Samuel Walker, The Police in America, in introducing argues that the move towards professionalism wasn't all good. That movement, he argued, promotes the creation of police departments that were inward-looking and isolated from the public, and crime control tactics that ended up they watched over. And so more than a half a century after Kennedy's 1963 proclamation, the improvement and modernization of America's surprisingly young police force continue to this day. Okay, so that's a little bit of history as it goes into the police and what the police stood for and what it originated for, as that article eloquently puts out, and as I read it, has a history that has to deal with what we have to look at. And what I'm about to play to you now, you know, I'm probably going to give you a little break if you want to take away, because it's going to be a little minute, but this is my rendition of what I say the supernatural warfare that's in Chicago. Now, after the video, those again who want to say something to talk or elaborate, again for this, again I'm trying to get back into the flow of everything. I had been off for a little while, took a little hiatus. For those who've been persistent subscribers and was watching some of the videos, the numbers are never going to show because again this is not popular. You get what I'm saying? So much better. Thanks a lot, Out the Box. Afterwards, after the video, I may stop in between, right, just to see on certain segments. But again, this is my rendition of my knowledge about Chicago and the history of what I just told you just now, the history with the police. I'll come back in between about some other things, but sit back and check this out. I put this together. You know how I do it. You know exactly how I do it. So I'm going to go ahead, see if I can get it going. And let's see, we'll start off with, matter of fact, we'll do this. I'll go into this here, put the song in, and then we go right into it.
his book, From the Book Behold the Pale Horse, written by William Cooper, a former naval intelligence officer, in regards to a document concerning the American public, it states, diversion is the primary strategy. The simplest method for securing silent weapons is to keep the public undisciplined and ignorant of basic system principles while keeping them confused. And this is what these reality shows are doing. Confused about gender, confused about political, confused about your role. You understand what I'm saying? Confused about religion, confused about politics. It says keep them confused, disorganized, and distracted with matters of no real importance. Whereas the media keeps the adult population's attention diverted from real social issues and captivated by matters of no real importance. It goes on to say, the schools that keep the young public ignorant of real mathematics, real economics, real law, and real history. Entertainment is kept below the 6th grade level.
Newly released body cam video shows the moments leading up to the deadly police shooting of a black man who appeared to be armed in Chicago. 37-year-old Harith Augustus apparently reached for a weapon before an officer opened fire and killed him. Several demonstrators were arrested after violent confrontations with police near the shooting scene on Saturday night. Dean Reynolds filed the report from outside Chicago Police Headquarters.
Good morning. Police say they stopped 37-year-old Harith Augustus when they noticed a holster and a gun protruding from his T-shirt. And they say they released the body cam video as quickly as they did to dispel misinformation that was stoking tensions in the city. In the silent police video, 4 officers approach Harith Augustus on a Southside Chicago sidewalk. He pulls away when one officer tries to grab his wrist, revealing what police say is a semi-automatic weapon on his right hip. An officer opened fire when he appeared to reach for a gun.
The decision to use lethal force is made in a split second and is based on the safety of the officer and also that surrounding community.
People who knew Augustus say he worked as a barber and had a 5-year-old daughter.
People here are angry because this was a member of the community. He wasn't a bad person.
Demonstrators converged near the shooting site Saturday, throwing bottles and trash, jumping on a squad car, and clashing with officers who responded with batons. There were 4 arrests and some officers were hurt.
How many shots? 16 shots!
Yesterday, dozens gathered again for a march.
We do believe in justice, and we have to make sure that we come together as a people.
Some protesters said Saturday's incident was reminiscent of the deadly police shooting of 17-year-old Laquan McDonald in 2014. McDonald was shot 16 times as he walked away from police and was armed only with a pocket knife. Police video of that incident wasn't made public for more than a year. Police say video of Saturday's shooting shows a key difference.
This was not an unarmed individual. The individual was armed. Now, why he chose to do what he did, I don't know.
Police recovered a gun and ammunition from the scene of the shooting. They say that the suspect did not have a permit to carry a concealed weapon. And as for the officer involved in the shooting, he's been on the police force for less than 2 years, and he's now been assigned to desk duty for the next 30 days, pending an investigation. Gail?
All right, Dean Reynolds, thank you. That's why this video content is so important, because when you look at it, even as a layperson, clearly looked like he had a gun and that he was reaching for the gun at the time of the shooting. Yeah. All these cases are different.
This march together because in Chicago there's too much bloodshed in the African American community.
Do you think Mayor Rahm Emanuel has failed Chicago?
Well, Ron Emanuel, first of all, is a con man. His whole job is to keep black folks divided.
No, he doesn't care about anybody but the people in his neighborhood and his family.
City's in financial calamity. You know, the organization in the city of Chicago is just complete disarray. No matter which angle you want to audit or look at, Chicago is a complete mess.
So you say that he cares more about the illegal immigrants that are in the city than the African Americans?
I said exactly that. He cares more about non-citizens, African Americans with citizens, and our ancestors built this country.
He got some good things, but I think he don't step up and come to the people where the crime is. You know what I'm saying? The crime is on the south side and the west side.
We have to make sure that President Trump recognized that not everyone believes that Chicago is a Trump-free zone. if he's serious about helping the people in Chicago, especially on the west side of Chicago, I accept his help. We can't turn any help away. We have to make sure that people understand that criminals cannot have their way with our streets. We have to protect our youth, we have to protect our seniors, and people have to have safe places to walk. And so, you know, one murder is too many. And so if Chicago Police Department and all the other law enforcements can't do it, we should seek other help.
Wow. Wow, that is something. Protesters in Chicago demanding Mayor Rahm Emanuel step down immediately amid the city's ongoing crime epidemic. Even Democrats calling on President Trump to come into Chicago to take action. Here now is Gianna Caldwell, Fox News political analyst and Chicago native. This is extraordinary. It goes so much against the common wisdom that particularly minorities in Chicago, the last thing they want is President Trump. They want to rely on the mainstream Democratic politicians. Not so, you found out.
Yeah, it goes against the politically allowed wisdom, David. I found that many people there are just fed up with the violence. One lady told me, and she was a older African-American woman, she said she can't even have her grandkids come and visit her because she doesn't want them to return in the casket. So when you see the fear, when you see the fact that Rahm Emanuel has been his inaction on the violence in Chicago, that many people fear even waking up because they don't know if a bullet is going to come through their window or not, you know that there's time for a change. And I really want to applaud State Representative LaShawn Ford, who is a senior Democrat in the state legislature.
Well, that's the thing. They are breaking, liberals are breaking with the Democrat establishment for their own safety's sake and for the safety of their community.
Yeah. Absolutely, and LaShawn Ford, he's on the west side of Chicago, and he has one of the hardest hit areas in terms of the violence. I remember one lady at the protest told me that her nephew was burned alive beyond recognition and put in a garbage can from some gang violence. When you think about that, you should scream for help because Rahm Emanuel is obviously not hearing the many residents in Chicago, especially the most vulnerable.
No, he's singing the party line, and the party line is more anti-police and anti the tough measures that you know. We went through the same thing, Gianno, as you know very well here in New York City. Crime got totally out of control. We had 2,200 murders a year. Then even liberals voted for Rudy Giuliani to come in and clean up the mess, and he did it by getting tough on crime.
Yeah. And then when you think about even that, you just mentioned the numbers. In 2016, that we found out by way of a study that Chicago had more shootings and murders than New York and LA combined.
Unbelievable.
That was under Rahm Emanuel's watch. So this continues to happen.
And that's, by the way, we should emphasize that's in raw numbers, and New York has a lot more citizens than Chicago, so it's way more per capita than you have in New York.
Los Angeles too. We're talking about combined more than these are the two largest cities in America combined that have more murders. Chicago has more murders and shootings than these two cities. This is ridiculous, and I think for me, especially being an individual whose family has experienced the violence in Chicago, my little brother last Memorial Day in a car with two of his friends when two men walked up and shot the car 25 times. Brother lived, thank God, but his best friend, bloody, died in his arms. So this, for me, isn't a talking point, David.
Well, and
Not at all.
the folks,
this is human life and the personal mission now.
Folks in Chicago get too depressed by the situation. What happened in New York is a lesson because we went from 2,200 murders a year under Mayor Dinkins down to less than 400. That was a 4 or 5-fold decrease in the number of murders because what Rudy did, and he had a no tolerance campaign for criminals. He focused on the little crimes because he found out very often little crimes would lead to the big crimes that would lead to murder. Are Chicagoans ready to do that? Really crack down not only on the murders, but on the small crimes that lead to the murders?
I think Chicagoans are ready for a comprehensive plan. I wrote an op-ed which was released this week asking for President Trump to order his Attorney General Jeff Sessions and the FBI Director to come up with a comprehensive plan to fight the violence in Chicago. In addition to that, I've called on President Trump to fund programs that would teach and mentor youth that are troubled. So these are people who...
Those are important, Gianno, but sometimes you have to do things that are very unpopular in communities, particularly minority, like stop and frisk, for example. Would they be willing to go that far?
I have no idea. I think at this point they're willing to hear some plans and some ideas that are going to stop the violence in Chicago, and I think that's most important. We haven't seen much of that. We haven't seen much action from Mayor Rahm Emanuel, and at this point people are hungry for safety because there's people that are literally leaving Chicago. My little brother doesn't even live in Chicago anymore. We moved him out of the state.
The good
2
news
weeks later.
is you can foment change. It can be done, and even liberals will vote. I know. Remember, we had some liberals here at Fox News who eventually voted for Giuliani, like Alan Colmes, the late Alan Colmes, because things got so desperate here. So things can change. Gianno, great work. Thank you very much for sharing it with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
President Trump, the White House interview with David Muir continues.
Mr. Trump, let's talk about many of the things that have happened this week. Chicago, last night you tweeted about the murder rate in Chicago, saying, if Chicago doesn't fix the horrible carnage going on, I will send in the feds.
Right.
You will send in the feds. What do you mean by that?
Carnage. You know, in my speech, I got tremendous from certain people, the word carnage. It is carnage. It's horrible carnage. This is, Afghanistan is not like what's happening in Chicago. People are being shot left and right. Thousands of people over a short period of time. This year, which has just started, is worse than last year, which was a catastrophe. They're not doing the job. Now, if they want help, I would love to help them. I will send in what we have to send in. Maybe they're not going to have to be so politically correct. Maybe they're being overly political correct. Maybe there's something going on. But you can't have those killings going on in Chicago. Chicago is like a war zone. Chicago is worse than some of the people that you report and some of the places that you report about every night.
So I will
in the Middle East.
You mentioned federal assistance. There's federal assistance and then there's sending in the feds. I'm just curious, will you take action on your own?
I want them to fix the problem. You can't have thousands of people being shot in a city, in a country that I happen to be president of. Maybe it's okay if somebody else is president. I want them to fix the problem. They have a problem that's very easily fixable. They're going to have to get tougher and stronger and smarter, but they got to fix the problem. I don't want to have thousands of people shot in a city where essentially I'm the president. I love Chicago. I know Chicago. And Chicago is a great city, can be a great city. It can't be a great city if people are shot walking down the street for a loaf of bread. It can't be a great city.
And if they are unable to fix it, that's when you would.
Well, so far they have been unable. It's been going on for years. And I wasn't president. What's going on? So all I'm saying is to the mayor, who came up to my office recently, I say you have to smarten up and you have to toughen up because you can't let that happen. That's a war zone.
This is a warning.
I want them to straighten out the problem. It's a big problem.
I would welcome, always have, welcome federal participation in working with local law enforcement to dealing with guns and gangs.
Manhunt is underway tonight in Chicago, where an ATF agent was ambushed and shot early this morning in the city's gun violence-plagued South Side. That agent hospitalized this evening, and the suspect is on the loose. NBC's Blake McCoy has details.
Tonight, a massive manhunt in Chicago after an ATF officer was shot in the face in an ambush.
Urgency, we have shots fired on 45th and Hermitage. 45th and Hermitage, get us some units over here.
The federal agent rushed to the hospital in critical condition, now said to be improving.
You think we're going to take this lying down? This is the 4th law enforcement officer in a year that's been shot over in that area. Do you think that escapes us? Because it doesn't. But I got a message for them. We're coming for you.
The ATF has been working with Chicago police, forming a strike force to crack down on illegal guns, particularly high-powered rifles gangs use to boost their firepower.
It's unusual to have those types of weapons in an urban environment, and then when they're in the hands of violent gang members who have absolutely no respect for human life, it's just a combination that is deadly.
The effort has seen success. Over 2,500 illegal guns confiscated so far this year. Shootings are down, but still far too common. A 4-year-old was caught in the crossfire just this week.
It's heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching. A baby. My heart goes out to that baby and the family. It does.
Tonight, hundreds of officers searching the streets for the person who targeted one of their own. Blake McCoy, NBC News, Chicago.
Violent protests erupted in Chicago this weekend after another fatal police shooting. 4 protesters were arrested and a number of officers were injured by rocks and bottles. As Meg Oliver reports, police say the man who was shot and killed by an officer was armed with what appeared to be a handgun.
The violent confrontation lasted for hours Saturday night as protesters threw rocks and bottles and police fought back with batons. It all started when several Chicago police officers on foot spotted a man they say was armed.
They approached the subject who became combative, and as he became combative, flating away, he broke free from the officers, and what they thought he appeared to be reaching for a weapon, which he did have a weapon on him, and the officers tragically shot this man.
The man, 37-year-old Harith Augustus, died later at the hospital. Police recovered a handgun and 2 magazines at the scene. For a police department under fierce scrutiny over its policing in Black and Latino communities, this is the 3rd time in the last 2 weeks that a Chicago police officer shot someone. Residents described Augustus as a father who worked in a local barbershop and a friend to many.
He's not a drug dealer, he's not a gang member, he's not a documented gang member. He's not that. He worked to provide for his 5-year-old daughter, and his life was taken from him by Chicago Police Department last night.
Chicago police say they will release the body cam video, which they say proves Augustus had a gun and was reaching for it during the confrontation. DeMarco.
All right, Meg Oliver reporting. Meg, thank you.
Off the shot. Off the shot. Off the down.
It's the radio call no officer ever wants to hear. That 10-1 dispatch call sent dozens of officers flying to the Thompson Center for one of their own. 18th District CPD Commander Paul Bauer was rushed into an ambulance, taken to Northwestern Hospital.
They observed an individual acting suspiciously. They walked up to him to engage him in conversation. At the time, a physical confrontation ensued. The individual was able to escape them and flee.
Commander Bauer was near the Thompson Center for an unrelated training, but over the radio, he heard his officers needed help. He jumped in, running towards the threat to help make an arrest. The veteran commander got into an armed fight with that suspicious man. Commander Bauer was shot several times and died.
I was walking down the street and I heard pop, 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 pop. And I said to the girl next to me, "Is that what I think it is?" And she said, "Yep."
There was a cop out here and he was telling everybody to get back inside. Telling everybody, get out of here, get out of here, get back inside, get back inside.
I couldn't really see him, but I saw them doing some chest compressions on him.
The man police arrested seen here on a stretcher at Stroger Hospital.
The offender is in custody. The weapon is recovered. And I just ask citizens of this city to keep the Bauer family in their prayers.
The ambulance carrying the body of Chicago Police Commander Paul Bauer left Northwestern Hospital. In its trail, dozens upon dozens of police cars on Erie headed to Fairbanks. The mounted patrol unit watched on horseback. from Streeterville through Grant Park on Columbus, then headed to Congress, a full police escort. During rush hour, it put the city at a standstill. On the Eisenhower, silence and flashing lights as the procession made its way to Damon and then Harrison on the city's west side. Saluting their fellow comrade as the ambulance arrived. Officers watched the procession outside the Cook County Medical Examiner's office. Ending the watch under an American flag hanging from arched fire truck ladders as the Mounted Patrol watched again from above.
I'm sure that people came in that were not even on duty to be part of that procession.
Former Chicago police officer Rick Simon knew and loved Commander Bauer.
It's an honor, Commander Bauer. You know, every one of us that wore that uniform and does wear that uniform. It's their way of showing respect.
At 11, a bombshell from Illinois Governor Bruce Rauner. Just moments ago, he said he wants to bring back the death penalty in Illinois for mass murderers and cop killers.
He made the announcement as he outlined a list of recommendations for legislation to stop gun violence. CBS 2's V. Nguyen joins us live now from the near west side with more. Hi, V.
Yes, good morning, Aaron and Marissa. Governor Bruce Rauner has issued what's called an amendatory veto this morning to a bill sent to his desk. He's now proposing a public safety plan to rewrite this bill to expand a 72-hour waiting period to include all firearms and to reinstate the death penalty in some cases. Now, Governor Bruce Rauner announced this decision this morning on the city's west side with lawmakers and law enforcement by his side. House Bill 1468 was sent to the governor's desk this past March. The governor had 60 days to decide on whether to sign or veto that bill. The proposed legislation would change the waiting period to buy assault weapons from 24 hours to 72 hours. But today, the governor said he wants to expand that waiting period to include all firearms. As part of that veto, he says he's also making several other critical improvements to public safety. That includes reinstating the death penalty for mass murderers and those who kill law enforcement, ban bump stocks and trigger cranks. He's also recommending a firearm restraining order to keep guns away from dangerous people, make judges and prosecutors more accountable and transparent when it comes to plea agreements, and to allow schools to hire resource officers and mental health workers so they can help to prevent any student violence.
These are a set of 6 specific recommendations that our administration is making today as part of this amendatory veto. We are calling on the General Assembly to act quickly on our veto and our recommendations, but this is just an initial set. We applaud the work of our bipartisan public safety working group. They are continuing to evaluate additional actions.
Now, we learned members of the House and Senate will need 3/5 of the vote to override the governor's veto. The new proposed legislation by the governor would have to be introduced in the General Assembly. Reporting live from the city's west side, V. Nguyen, CBS 2 News. Back to you.
V, thank you.
It's your man B Miles coming to you live once again with another video from the B Miles 84 Conscious channel. This afternoon I want to come to you with my video, man, talking about, I actually want to talk to my Chicago family that's over there in Chicago. You feel me? To all of my subscribers or just people in general, man. What's going on over there though, man? Check this out though, right? All of those murders that is going on over there in Chicago, man. Let me tell you something right about now. A lot of those murders in the city, they are being done by police and all mercenaries, and they blaming them on gangs. Because how is it that Chicago is always winding up with a whole bunch of murders, but a lot of these murders go unsolved? Let me tell you something right now. I talked to a retired police officer a couple of years ago, and he told me, he said all those murders in the inner cities are not black on black crime. They're being done by police, because a lot of these areas, they are gang activity, and also as well, they be taking gang members and dropping them off in other gang members' neighborhoods and wind up having them killed. And also too, they were saying that when I talked to somebody, so I'm talking to somebody else from Chicago, they were saying that sometimes they be having like guys coming up on them on cars with unmarked vehicles with masks on.
New video review of something somewhat new and something very new. What I'm wearing right now is a Dermal Synthetics Derek mask, and it fits great, as you can see. I don't have any makeup on under my eyes right now, but I am wearing my contacts. And
okay, so anyone that is slow as to what's going on here, this is a white male who has black dark contacts in, and he has on a mask to perpetrate that he's a black man. Okay, he's a white man, but he has this mask on to perpetrate, and if you wasn't paying attention, you would automatically think he's a black man.
And has a nice shiny bald head. The other things that are really new are these. And this is a smaller version of the normal gloves from CFX. And they are able to skin match the color of the mask to the gloves.
AKA, okay, he has black man hands and arms now with a G-Shock watch on and tattoos. Okay, so if you saw this just passing by, looking at the screen right now, and nowhere in your mind would you think this is a white man with a mask and gloves on to portray a black man. For what reason?
I've had SPFX gloves before, and while they fit pretty well, they were very poorly made. They ripped a lot, and they really didn't feel as great as these do. As you can see, they really match the color of the mask very well, and they don't really look that big, so you can really get away with it. Also had Wes give me a little bit of a arm tattoo on this one, and wearing a watch. One of the great things about this is the dexterity that the gloves provide. I was able to pick a coin up off the top of a desk, and I've also been able to lift off a coin from the bottom of the floor. So these are perfect. They look really great. They are pretty high. As you can see, they almost go to the elbow, and
if you just seen that, he's a very smaller white man, and you saw his arm is much smaller than what it appears on those gloves. So if he have those gloves and bulky clothes on under that sweater, he's going to look like a bigger black man, when in actuality he's a smaller white man. So if he take off those clothes after committing a crime or after doing something he's not supposed to do, and he take those clothes off, now they're looking for Montel Jordan.
These are great stuff. I've been waiting to get a pair of gloves that were a little smaller than the regular ones. So these are considered a smaller size, and feel good, nice and sturdy, and great dexterity.
So with that being said, you guys, don't believe everything that you see on a screen. You do not know exactly what you're looking at. You do not know exactly how a person looks unless you're looking at that person, okay? Unless you're in person with that person. When you see pictures that can be photoshopped, when you see screens that can be manipulated, and now we have the mask and the gloves. So with that being said, keep your eyes open, and again, I am going to put some videos up about Pizzagate and about the Great Deception, Bluebeam, Project Bluebeam. But with that being said, I just wanted to put this quick video out. As you guys know, of course, I'm restricted from going live, so that's the reason why I haven't been posting much. But I'm still here, still spreading the news, still keeping it real. This is Miss Tony Freeney. I love you guys. I'm out.
Thanks again.
Just because they have riding up on you with unmarked vehicles on them with masks on, that don't necessarily mean, you know what I mean, that is somebody else. Might be somebody from the inner, you know, you good, man, you good. You know, there might be somebody else from the inner city, you feel me? Now, I'm not going to say it's not going on. I'm not going to say there's no, I really don't want to call it black on black crime, or rather just call it crime anyway. But okay, but since, you know what I mean, think about it though, right? If black on black crime goes unpunished, how is it there's so many murders in the daggone city, but a lot of these murders go unsolved?
From all of the killings last night.
That is because it is connected to organ trafficking.
Saving lives one organ donation at a time, could Chicago become the transplant hub of the country? That's what hospitals in our area, also doctors and politicians are hoping for.
CBS 2's Susanna Song live at the Cultural Center where the Chicago Organ Summit is taking place.
Welcome today to the inaugural Chicago Organ Summit.
It's a great day for the city of Chicago. It's also a great day for the people of the state of Illinois, where we are providing information to individuals so that they can become better educated, better informed, so that they can eventually become a part of the organ and tissue donor program.
I think it's wonderful that we're coming together today as the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, and Gift of Hope to celebrate organ donation and to see how we can increase the numbers of organ transplantations in this region and in the country.
One of the things that's going to help us get more people to agree to donate is to get them into the registry. And right now, 16 and 17-year-olds, when they come to get their first license, are not allowed to register. We have a bill that's been introduced by the Secretary of State through some of our congressional leaders to change the law to allow 16 and 17-year-olds to register to be organ and tissue donors.
It's going to give that hope and that positive spin to tragedy that can make all the difference in somebody's life.
I believe that Chicago has the making to be a Mecca, a capital city for transplant innovation.
If we can work together with the Organ Donation Agency, like the Gift of Hope, to increase organ donor awareness, that would make Chicago a leading center for transplantation in this country.
There's a Jewish statement, which if one person saves one person's life, it's the equivalent of saving the entire world.
I think the importance of this Chicago Inaugural Summit is more awareness, to get people out there to put it on their license, to make sure that it's there so their loved ones do not have to second guess themselves. And it was huge for me to know that my husband did that.
organ donation is something that can change people's lives. I've been blessed by God and by my doctors. But the simple fact is, for me to come out and say what I need done, if it could possibly help the thousands of people that are waiting for organ transplants, then it's worth it. It's not about Eddie Johnson.
We interrupt our regular program schedule for a special report from ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
And I'm ABC 7's Terrell Brown in the ABC 7 newsroom. We're coming back on the air now with breaking news. We want to get you an update on Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson. He became ill during a news conference. Stacey Baca is joining us now live with details. Stacey. All right, we do not have Stacey right now. You know what? Let's go on ahead and take a look at a tweet that just came out from the police department. And this reads, Superintendent Johnson walked to his car on his own with Mary Manuel and will go to the hospital to be checked out. He was talking, alert, and feeling better. Now, we want to break this down for you. We want to go back to the moment where this medical episode happened. And that scary moment during the press conference, he was appearing with the mayor. This was down on the south side, the two discussing new technological advancements to fight violence in the city. And you can see right there where it looks like the superintendent had become faint, and a lot of the officials around him supporting him and holding up. The room was cleared, and for the better part of 45 minutes, the superintendent was in the room. We imagine being cared for by medical officials. Just got an update here just a minute ago. The Chicago Fire Department examined Superintendent Johnson at the 7th District Police Station and found his vitals to be good. The superintendent left the facility in his own vehicle. In the moments right after this, we got a tweet from CPD that said Superintendent Johnson felt lightheaded, that he did not lose consciousness, that he was coherent, and that he would go to an area hospital. So at this point, we know that the superintendent is headed to or at an area hospital. We don't know what hospital that is at this point, being checked out. We also don't know what possible underlying condition may have led to what we saw here today at that press conference. So many, many questions. We are on top of it. Any updates we get, we will cut into program and bring them to you. We'll also have updates on our website at abc7chicago.com and on our ABC 7 News app, and a complete update on Eyewitness News at 4 o'clock. For now, though, I'm Terrell Brown in the ABC 7 newsroom. Now back to regularly scheduled programming.
This has been a special report from ABC 7 Eyewitness News. We now return to our regular program.
It's about us. It's about making this world better.
I'm proud to have signed up to be an organ donor, and I hope every Chicagoan can do the same. Together, we can build a healthier Chicago for all of us.
If every potential organ donor actually donated their organs, most people who needed a transplant would get one.
When you can give someone else a second chance at life, what better gift can you give to a human being?
I think this is hopefully going to be the first of many organ summits, and I hope to be back here again next year with an even bigger cast of characters to talk about the advances we've made and the lives that we've affected.
They are doing it over to Chicago because Chicago has become ground zero where they're attacking melanated people that's over there. Chicago is a very deep place. It is a very special place, but I'm going to tell you all, my Chicago family, they are lying to y'all about these murders. All of these murders are not quote-unquote black-on-black crime. They being done by police and undercover police, and they are blaming it on murders. If you don't got to believe me, go back and watch one of my videos. And I talked to like 1 or 5 cops, and they told me this stuff is going on. So don't believe none of the media, man, because they always want to heighten up, you know, things that's going on in Chicago. How is it you always got 60 damn bodies, but where are the suspects? You feel me? There's always some massive shooting in Chicago, but there's no body. You know what I mean? I'm going to say you might find the body sometime, but sometimes, you know, a lot of times you don't hear no damn suspects. That's the same thing that happened over here when the Freddie Gray situation came about. How is it we had 45 murders in 1 month but no suspects? How is it Chicago always having 60 damn shootings and maybe like 12 dead, but there's no fucking body or there's no suspect? A lot of these murders, they are being done by undercover police. They are committing these murders, man. They are committing the murders. I definitely will say it's 50-50, but all of us are not killing one another like that.
Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect
Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're in Moyock, North Carolina, home to Academy's training facilities. Academy is the nation's top firearms training and security services companies out there. Now, a lot of people that might be familiar or somewhat familiar with Academy may think that Academy only trains military or law enforcement personnel, and nothing could be further from the truth. They have a wide variety of civilian training courses that are available, and that's something that we're here to check out today. So let's pop inside Academy and see what goes on here. Academy was founded in 1997 and was originally envisioned as a training facility to support various law enforcement and security personnel. Their capabilities quickly expanded when they received their first government contract in 2000. Academy has 3 training facilities in the United States, but their Moyock, North Carolina campus is their flagship 7,000-acre adult playground filled with long ranges, short ranges, shoot houses, racetracks, off-road courses, mount facilities, shipboarding simulators, 2 airfields, 3 drop zones, a military-style obstacle course, interactive Roger ranges, and 25 classrooms, and I probably left out a few things. However, Academy's greatest asset are the people they employ, including their instructors. Their instructors come from all walks of life. You'll find men and women with backgrounds in special forces, SEALs, Rangers, Marines, snipers, and law enforcement. Nowhere else will you find more operational experience in instructors than those employed by Academy, and it shows.
We have an impressive training facility here. 7,000 acres, 45 plus ranges, multiple live fire shoot houses, simunition houses. We have a lot to offer, but it's not always about the facility. It comes down to, we can have a great facility, but if you have lousy instructors, you're not going to walk away from here with anything. We have a great instructor staff that supports this place and makes it a top-notch training facility.
What I found was that they offered a wide variety of courses that were custom tailored to students' needs. Civilians of all experience levels will find exactly what they need here. If you bought your first handgun recently and want to learn how to defend yourself or your home, Academy offers courses specifically for you. Are you more experienced and you want to learn dynamic room entry, long-range shooting, and performance driving? They offer those courses custom tailored to you as well. I don't think I've ever seen a more comprehensive menu of training courses.
No matter what someone's looking for, Academy can offer that to them. We have a lot of civilian classes, such as women's defense pistol, home defense, basic pistol courses, driving. Most people, when they get here, the thing that I tend to hear the most is that it wasn't what they thought of. It's a very relaxed environment, it's a very professional environment, and very welcoming environment. Again, it's very diverse. We have, just in my division alone, probably over 200 years of experience, ranging from special operations to law enforcement to competition shooters. It's all blended together and comes in, which gives the student a better product.
We'll teach the beginning handgunners here, the people have never touched a carbine before or shotgun. We'll take them from a basic level to an intermediate level to an advanced level. And that won't occur in just one outing here. Don't feel shy about, I've never picked up a gun before, I don't want to go to a place like that, I'll be embarrassed. Well, that's not the case. We have beginners in classes all the time, never touched a gun before. We have customers come from all over the country that have been here time after time after time, and they've taken away from this place the knowledge and firearm skills that they need to protect themselves and their families. One of the most popular is Home Defense Course. Now, Home Defense Course doesn't teach firearms per se. You have to come here with the handling skills, with the marksmanship skills. What that course focuses around is protecting your family, your home, whether you're at home or you're away from home, security, how to fortify your house and make it more secure. The tips for when you're out traveling and you're out away from the house. If you're at the mall and an active shooter event happens, what should you do? Whether you're armed or you're unarmed at that point. We cover a vast variety of topics in the classroom before we ever go out to the shoot house and practice the tactics of one person clearing your home. And we always say, this is worst case scenario. Train for worst case scenario. Your best interest to let the police, let the professionals do it, but if it comes down to it, you have the skills to do this yourself.
As I mentioned, the instructors at Academy are among the best you'll find anywhere in the world. I found that the ones I worked with during my stay were knowledgeable, personable, and outstanding communicators. While some might find working with men with so much operational experience intimidating, trust me when I say that you'll quickly find yourself at ease around them as they quickly get your focus on the training tasks at hand. My first course was with a former Marine named Russ. I consider myself to be fairly competent with a handgun, but in working with Russ, he taught me a few things that were both interesting and useful. One of the things I took away from my time with Russ was the way I charged my Glock 17 pistol. Most training companies will teach you to grab over the top of the slide and slingshot it. Russ showed me how the Academy crew teaches charging the weapon and clearing malfunctions, and they use the pinch method. After explaining why they use this method versus the over-the-top grabbing method, it made perfect sense and I walked away with something new, or should I say old, to practice. After spending the morning working on handgun techniques, I moved over to rifles where I received instruction on everything from reloads and malfunction clearing to rapid target engagement. While our time was somewhat limited, I felt I learned an incredible amount of useful information in the short time we spent on the range. Where things got really interesting is in one of Academy's shoot houses. Shooting and practicing on a static square range is nothing like actually clearing real rooms with obstacles such as furniture and doorways. One of the shoot houses has 2 levels, giving you the ability to navigate a staircase while practicing with live ammunition. After we finished up in the shoot house, we moved over to the Rogers Range. The range is named after its inventor, Bill Rogers, who is somewhat of a legend in the shooting community and is a former FBI agent. The Rogers Range presents a unique challenge in that the trainer can pick what target appears when and where on the range. The shooter is required to maintain cover and engage seemingly random appearing targets at varying ranges. My time on the Rogers Range dovetailed perfectly with my experiences in the shoot house as they really complement each other. The Rogers Range gets you used to the concept of shooting, taking cover, and moving to new cover as you take control of the room. Not too many training facilities that you go to have a mobile resupply station. That's what this van is. It's an old bread truck. Inside they carry spare targets, spare holsters for people that are taking classes, magazine pouches, bullhorns, water, spray paint, everything that you would need. If you have a rifle like an AR-15 or an AK or a SCAR that goes down, they also have a mobile armory that carries spare parts for most of those types of firearms. It's actually pretty impressive. Not only does Academy have a mobile armory, but they also have a large static armory on campus that offers a wide variety of firearms, parts, and accessories for their students to take advantage of. You'll also find a fully stocked pro shop where you'll find everything from tactical clothing, holsters, belts, batteries, jackets, to red dot sights and magazines. You can of course find plenty of Academy branded swag in the pro shop too, so you can go home both looking and feeling like an operator.
Because there's not enough guns, and I'm going to say where the guns come from. These guns are being dumped off, crates of guns are being dumped off in Chicago.
Situation in Chicago, man. I'm from Chicago, born and raised there. I ran those streets of Chicago and changed my life. But I want to kind of make people aware of some things that you don't know, because you've never really been out there, then you wouldn't know it. And it's going to be hard to believe, but myself, for a fact, and several others that I ran with know this to be the truth. Growing up in Chicago in the early 90s, this same situation was happening. I've been in Chicago where a person came into my house and knocked on the door to come and get me early in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, and said, come with me, man, it's a crate of guns in the alley. And I got up and ran out there, and sure enough, there was a crate of guns. And during that time when we in it, you're not thinking about where did the guns just come from. You know, you never think about that type of stuff, like where did the guns come from and why are they here. But now that I'm older, I can kind of tell you that it's a diabolical plot. Nothing is stopped. The guns are still there. The guns are still being placed in these different strategic communities. It's a plan. It's not out in Bridgeview. It's not out in, West Mountain. They're putting it in the hundreds for sure. Yeah, they're putting it on 55th. They're putting it in Inglewood. 6:30 in the morning while older people that's at work, you sleep. You're not outside. So, you got the streetwalkers and the people that's out, they hustling and they out all types of day. And yeah, they're the ones that's going to run across them. And who would go and tell the police? I never went to go tell the police when we found some guns. That don't even make sense. Why would you go tell the police? So people are wondering why so much violence. Think about it. You think about this. Okay, the police are locking people up constantly in Chicago every single day. They're taking guns off the street every single day, every day. So how is it that all of these guns just keep appearing? Where are all the guns coming from? Nobody's going to the gun store buying these guns. So where are all these guns? Now, this is another part that you don't know. I was so used to having exotic guns that I thought that was the norm. You understand what I'm saying? I'm saying far as, I don't know if are you familiar with guns, but a fully automatic handgun is almost impossible to get. You know what I'm saying? A fully automatic assault rifle, that's not common. It may sound common, but that's not common. A Uzi that's fully automatic, that's not common. So I was so used to having everything in the area that I knew of was fully. It shot fully automatic, fully. So me being 17 and 18 and in my 20s, I was so naive that I believed that's how all guns was. I seen so many different exotic guns on the street running around in different areas with the guys just running around. I thought that was the norm. So now I'm an older gentleman. I'm out here, I'm switching my life around. I'm living right, So now I'm clearing my name up and got my record sealed. I'm going to the gun shop now. I'm going to the shooting range, shooting like I'm supposed to. And I go into gun stores and I'm asking for certain guns and they looking at me like I'm crazy. Like I made that gun up. These are guns that I've seen several times in different areas that the gun store is saying, how would that be on the street? That's something that you would have to get specialized, customized. You see what I'm saying? But these guns are on the streets of Chicago. And my point to you is, yeah, we can't try to make an excuse for the kids out there shooting, and it ain't all kids, but we can't make an excuse. But I want you to look at the bigger picture. Where are they getting the guns from? It's not one or two areas. It's not one or two areas. It's everywhere. In the urban community is what I'm telling you. And not dropping them out there in Hillcrest. They're not gonna be out there. You check in them hundreds. You check on the low end. You check in the heart of the city, in the inner city. That's where they're dropping all the guns at. That's where all the killings is happening at. That's why a lot of innocent people are getting shot, stuff like that. Because of these guns, they got guns that they can't control. They shooting these guns, letting off, man, 100 shots, man, in 30 seconds. These guns are not being bought. They don't have no gun license to buy these guns. So where are they getting the guns from? That's the question. I'm telling you right now. They've been dropping the guns off in crates for years. They've been doing it. I seen it twice in my lifetime. I seen it in 1990, and then I seen it again in 1999. I seen it with my own eyes. You can believe it or not, but that's the honest to God truth. I went out, I seen the guns in the crate myself, and they went out through the whole area. Everybody got this one, grab that one. Let me get that one. I grabbed it. Everybody got it. And that's what they keep doing. That's how the guns keep getting on the streets. That's why the wars don't stop. You see what I'm saying? That's the part that people gotta focus on. The gun control, how you gonna control something if you study putting it down there? That's propaganda when they saying this gun control, or we lobbying for gun control. You're not trying to control nothing when you study putting guns out there. They giving it to them. Now they want to give them the guns so they can catch them with the guns. Either they gonna kill somebody with the gun, then they get to lock them up, or they catch them with the gun and they get to lock them up. Either way, it's lose, 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 lose. You see what I'm saying? It's a business for them. It's a business. You know what I'm saying? It's like me wanting to sell a drug, but I got to get you hooked first. You know, it's a business for them. So the more people that they can catch with guns, or the more people that commit crimes with guns, they get to lock them up. To them, it's just a number. They don't care. They don't care who it is. But it's more of the African-American community that is, you know, we're the victims. And I hate that everything boils down to race and all of that. I'm not a racist, but the truth is the truth. And I'm just telling it how it is, you know what I'm saying? I go to Chicago all the time, but if I go out to Westmount, Illinois, where one of my good white friends live, and I go with him, it's a different community. It's a different community. Ain't nobody running around with no guns. Ain't nobody doing nothing. I go out there, I feel safe. As soon as I go where I grew up at, I'm not getting out the car without no gun, because I don't trust nobody, because everybody around here got a gun. Everybody got a gun. You hear that part? That's the part that matters. Everybody got a gun, from the 14-year-old on up. Everybody got one. They ain't doing nothing with it. They just got one. Well, how do everybody got all these guns? Where they come from? Right back to that again. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The guns are being deliberately placed, strategically placed in certain communities to target certain individuals. Please pay attention. Please research it. Check it out. Ask some of the OGs who've been around and they'll tell you the same thing, that I'm not lying. I'm just willing to expose it. I'm trying to tell you the truth. It's the truth. They deliberately placing guns in Chicago in different areas. That's why so much shooting. The kids, as a little boy, when you grow up, you want to be a cowboy. You want a gun in your hand. As soon as you get it, you're going to emulate what you're seeing that people in front of you doing. So as soon as you get your hand on that gun, you got an extension clip, an extended clip. Where all these extended clips come from? Where do you think they come from? Just think about it logically. Where do all these automatic weapons come from that's doing all this shooting? Where do they come from? But nobody can go. Chicago don't got no gun stores. Think about that. There is no gun store in the city limits of Chicago. So where are the guns coming from? How do you get bullets? How do you get bullets? Because they dropping off bullets with the guns. That's how. Where they get bullets from? Okay, if I got guns, say I got the guns, where am I going to get bullets if it's not a gun store in the city of Chicago? That's what I'm trying to show y'all. Think about it logically. They don't want us to stop and think, because then if we stop and think, then we're going to be on point. You understand what I'm saying? So, hopefully, this will wake somebody up. Maybe you'll snatch your son up, or your nephew, or your cousin, and you'll talk to him, and you'll let him know it's a bigger picture than running around with these gangs, and that stuff ain't gonna last nowhere, you know. I was there. I came up out of it. Everybody won't be so lucky, but today I just want to drop one to grow on y'all, man, that there is a plot, and there is a plan, and it's strategically against our communities. So this is signing off from Las Vegas. The truth. This is not no maybe. I think he know what he's talking about. I'm telling you the truth. They're dropping guns off, man.
Comes out of Chicago. There was a partly open truck loaded with Nike Air Force One sneakers and Christian Louboutin shoes that showed up in the Englewood neighborhood of Chicago last week. Apparently, it was a bait truck placed by law enforcement to lure would-be thieves to their arrest. It was parked near a basketball court and traveled to other sites in this predominantly black community on the southwest side of Chicago. And these items are intended to be stolen. They leave them in high-crime neighborhoods, and they bait these devices, or they should say these devices are rigged with surveillance equipment and tracking devices so that they can catch the people who steal these sneakers.
If there are no gun stores in the black community, where are all these fucking guns coming from? Assault rifles and shit like that, you feel me? So you best believe there's something going on behind the scenes. But I have to come to y'all with this video, man, shed thoughts upon this, because I felt the need that y'all had to hit the subject. They are stealing our organs. They're committing these murders and stealing the organs over there, you feel me? But I just had to come to y'all with this video, man, shed thoughts up on this, shed light up on the situation. I felt the need that y'all had to hit the subject. Keep on liking and subscribing to my channel. Always appreciate the love. And it's your man B Miles coming to you live once again from the B Miles 84 Conscious channel. One love once again.
God for slavery. I thank God for the crack house. If it wasn't for the crack house, come on somebody, God wouldn't have never been able to use me how he can use me now. And if it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree.
Sticking with Chicago now, residents there increasingly concerned about the risk of lead in their drinking water. The city, for its part, insists the water is safe, but after seeing how city officials handled a similar problem in Flint, Michigan, folks in Chicago are starting to worry. Matt Finn, live in Chicago. Matt, major American city, is it possible the drinking water in Chicago isn't safe?
Yeah, good morning, Leland. Well, a leading lead contamination expert who has become a key player in the Flint crisis says people here in Chicago who choose to use tap water are essentially drinking out of a lead straw. The city of Chicago's infrastructure is made up of 80% lead pipe, and while the city insists the pipes are coated with a protective material, the most recent EPA test showed lead does leak into water. And what makes this issue so concerning is that you can essentially test your water, say 100 times, and it might come up fine, but the very next time you don't test it, a chunk of lead could come through. So people here are naturally nervous, especially those with children.
Now that this Flint crisis has happened, it's made me a lot more aware, and I think I've just been so trustworthy of not only our government, our pipes, the foundation of where the water is coming from, that it's not something that I've worried about, but this has definitely elevated a concern in my mind.
Now, to complicate matters, there is a 5% tax on bottled water here in Chicago. So people who choose not to use tap water are essentially paying for that. There is a county commissioner here who is making a move to abolish that tax. Leland.
Well, abolish the tax, maybe even give away water like they do in Flint. Has the EPA weighed in on this? Has the city of Chicago issued any kind of advisories telling people what to or to not do, Matt?
Yeah, you know what's interesting is that the city of Chicago and the EPA encourages people to let your water run 4 minutes before using that. So that might be an indication that they are not satisfied with the purity of water. But the EPA says most people don't even realize that that 4-minute advisory is out there. The message might have been lost.
You have to be telling people that the water is not safe unless you flush it. This has to be absolutely clear, and that message always gets lost.
Now, to clarify, there is no outbreak here in Chicago, especially one on the Flint level, but the EPA says that 80% of the pipes here in Chicago are made of lead, so perhaps the writing is on the wall. Really quick at home, if you are concerned about the quality of your water, the EPA says most water agencies will come and test the quality of your water, and if you are concerned about lead, there are water filters out there that say they remove all total lead. Leland.
Considering the economy in Chicago, you got to wonder how many people can afford those. Matt Finn, live in Chicago. Thank you, sir.
The quality of Chicago water is under attack tonight. A new class action lawsuit claims the city is actually causing lead to seep into the water supply. And now, the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, is telling CBS 2 that it will soon be changing its testing standards for lead in your water. 2 investigator Pam Zeckman has the story.
The class action lawsuit charges that the city knew street construction projects disturb lead water lines and can stir up lead sediments in the pipe that leaches into the water. The lawsuit further claims the city failed to warn homeowners about the potential danger or provide accurate directions on what they can do protectively. The city's water commissioner denies that.
We deliver to each home a document that says you're explaining the project of what's going to happen.
Powers says they instruct the homeowners on how to flush their water lines, and
we are continually adding phosphate to the water to ensure that if there is any disturbances in a coating, that it immediately begins to recoat it.
There is no question that excessive exposure to lead in water is occurring in many major cities across the United States.
Critics like civil engineering professor Mark Edwards say the real problem is inadequate lead testing procedures.
We have to close these loopholes. We have to better protect our children.
Officials told us more than 2 years ago they were going to change the testing procedures in order to get a more accurate assessment of the amount of lead in drinking water.
So there's good news on that front.
Robert Kaplan, the acting Midwest administrator for the Environmental Protection Agency, says it will begin rolling out better testing procedures in about a month.
We want to make sure that we capture the peak of the lead, the worst case.
Do you want some water? Yeah. Sarah Kopp runs her tap for 5 minutes and then filters the water before giving it to her daughter, Anya.
So I do that in order to flush the water and flush the lead out of the water to make it safer.
Based on a doctor's suggestion 2 years ago when high levels of lead were discovered in Anya's bloodstream.
She was actually developmentally delayed a little bit. Luckily, they caught it early enough.
But for now, COP will continue with her precautions because
I do not feel safe drinking this water without the proper testing being done on it.
both the EPA and the Chicago Department of Water Management stress that Chicago's water is safe to drink. But if you are concerned about lead in your water, there are some things you can do. Use a water filter that removes lead. Run the water for 3 to 5 minutes before first use of the day. Only drink cold tap water. Test your water. The city does it for free. Just call 311. Or EPA-approved labs charge $25 to $50. Erica and Rob, this really primarily affects homes that were built prior to 1986. That's the year nationally these lead service lines were banned.
All right, bam, thank you.
On November 6, 1987, William Bennett, Ronald Reagan's Secretary of Education, paid a visit to Chicago. It didn't take long for him to get the city's attention.
You've got close to educational meltdown here in Chicago. Is there a worst case? You tell me.
Bennett likely never called Chicago's schools the, quote, worst in the nation. That may have been the invention of an overzealous headline writer. Yet the phrase stuck, and the city has been trying to escape it ever since.
The worst in the nation.
Worst in the nation.
Chicago's public schools, the worst in the nation.
The worst district in the nation. The worst schools in the country.
Our schools were the worst in the nation.
Worst schools anywhere in America. Yep.
So why has a comment that may not have actually been said, and probably wasn't true anyway, had such staying power? And what will it take to lose that title for good? First, a little context. By the fall of 1987, evidence had been mounting for years that the Chicago public schools were in crisis.
The statistics look grim.
More than 45% of freshmen end up as dropouts.
Half the Chicago high schools ranked in the bottom 1% nationwide.
The public school system seems to have lost the confidence of the public.
I took my oldest daughter to school, and I truly felt that if I left my daughter there that day, I would not see her ever again alive. It was just that bad.
Critics of the schools found a ready target for their frustration. The district's massive central office on Pershing Road, a one-time Army surplus warehouse, now home to 3,000 CPS administrators.
We just knew that the board kept on getting their budgetary increases, but that money wasn't making it to the local level. It was stopping at Pershing Road.
The major problem with the Chicago public school system is the Chicago public school system.
The system was so centralized that it was very difficult to know where to get in to make a difference. And then in '87, the teachers went on strike again. It was their 9th strike in 19 years, and people were just like beside themselves.
The strike lasted almost a month, even today the longest in the district's history, infuriating parents and posing a challenge to Harold Washington, the city's first black mayor, who'd just been re-elected to a second term.
That strike and the way the parents and the community responded changed him. But he was able to take that change and give it form, to give it back to the community.
It's going to be a long, tough road. You're going to get tired of seeing your mayor talking to you about education in the city. Can you stand it? Let's go, let's go.
Washington invited parents to a series of community forums that also included business leaders and grassroots advocates who'd already been working for years to try to reform the district.
All students enrolled in the Chicago public schools have a right to a quality education.
The discussions were very freewheeling, and I would say with gloves off.
Principals have to have control over their schools.
Parent input must be encouraged.
Bottom line is, for once, let the children come first. Thank you.
People had a stake in it, and they finally had a voice.
The mom, the dad, the teachers, not the policymakers, not the politicians, the people, the grassroots. They get a say. they get a seat at the table.
It was in the midst of all of this that a coalition of business
want to sleep, but not you. But, you know, so a lot of people don't have a real understanding of what's going on in Chicago. You hear the news, you hear the reports. I mean, there's more to that video, but it's been a little long. But you know, when those who know my work, I'm trying to make sure that I feed. I try to make sure that when I do a subject, I cover the subject all four corners, so that you are informed as into when you see the news lines or you see or hear about certain things, you may not have the insight of what's going on. But you have to ask yourself, what's really going on in Chicago, man? Why are they attacking Chicago? And it's not saying that they're not attacking other places as well, but why the significance and more focus on those in Chicago? Now, that video itself has touched a lot of, you know, sensitive topics. It's touched on things that are considered taboo by a lot of people who will not speak out openly about. And, you know, the onus has been put on the communities that reside in Chicago. It seems that they're out of control. They lost control. Seems like, well, the best thing we could do was come in and oversaturate it with all kinds of, you know, some kind of municipalities and federal governments and things of that. Is that really the issue here? Or as that brother B Moore, which the video I took his clip on, he, you know, articulated his experience and knowledge and those who he know, and he told you, and I filled in everything that he talked about. I filled it in for you, because see, that was just to validate what he was saying. So for a lot of people, they didn't know that. Like, say for instance, those who may have known about what had took with the young lady Kenneka Jenkins. I think Jenkins is the last name. And the word was going around about, say, let's say, organ donor. And, you know, some people kind of blew that off. But see, I showed you in this clip here, or in this video, how Chicago had this summit in 2017. And when you start putting, like if you were younger, or even if you're older, you start playing with a puzzle, right? And you start, you know, there's a certain methodology that you use when you start to formulate a 500, 1,500 piece puzzle, 2,000, 3,000 piece puzzle. You know, there's a science that you do. You go with the outside and so forth. So when you start to formulate that outside and start putting those pieces together, you start to formulate a picture. And that was what I was doing here, for those who did not know. I formulated a picture for you, right? Now, some people may know, some people may not know. But again, you have to ask yourself, what and why is the focus more primarily there? I hear a lot of people who come from New York, and they'll say that New York is the Mecca. That's debatable. But what makes it a Mecca is it for the simple fact that you may say that you have 125th Street, you have the Apollo, the Renaissance, the Harlem Renaissance, and so forth. I won't debate that. I won't go against that. What I'm just going to say is, look at some of the institutions that are in Chicago. You have the Nation of Islam. You might have Malcolm in New York, but you had the Nation of Islam headquarters in Chicago. Those brothers out here who are part of the Moore Science Temple, the headquarters is in Chicago. you can say that the person who was the heir apparent next to after Martin Luther King, and that could be very questionable because of how that one got in position and who appointed you and so forth. But you got Jesse Jackson in Chicago with the Rainbow Push Coalition. So when you talk about Mecca, when you talk about some of this black institutions and organizations, Chicago got a lot to do with that, right? Chicago has a pivotal point when it comes to that. And then if you go back and you looked at that second Million Man March, you see some of the things that had been said in the mantra that was said about that. And what was really said, I'm not going to say it here because some people will be offended with it. But if you go back and do a little research and go back, what was the marquee? What was the mantra of that second Million Man March? And what was said? See, you got to think about that. And old people who've been around, people who know people who are older, been around, they always said back in the day, if they ever put a black man in that White House, it would be the end. See, some people think that if you listen to people who are older than you, people who were before you, because they may not have been in the technological era, they may not have been in the computer era, right? You may look at your situation today and say, well, how come y'all didn't do what we got it all down, but they've been around and they've seen and they know this game. You the one trying to figure the game out. If it was that simple, it would have been already done. It's not that simple. As this video was showing you, it's very complex of something that is going on. But let me tell you something. The catalyst of whatever is the dynamic that is happening behind the scenes of all this, whatever that dynamic is going to go down in Chicago. As that video laid out, it said certain specific things that no other city is having. They having permanent fixtures about certain organizations to be set up there, right? I gave you some history. I showed you some things in the background that was like, you didn't know that. It was not really promoted to be known that, but those organizations are sitting right up in this city too as well. So when you take that collectively, they got a lot going on in the city of Chicago. Unbeknownst to most people, all they get is the news reports. All they hear is the reputation. But they're not seeing this, the thing that is being formulated and prodded and poked. As the one brother also spoke that was from Chicago that talked about that as he was growing up in the communities that the guns and stuff was being found. And as he said, it is known in Chicago that no area there doesn't have a gun shop. You can't buy a gun in the city limits of Chicago. You have to go outside of the city limits to buy guns. Right? And so what the propaganda is to keep formulating that we need stricter gun laws and stuff, but again, criminals and people of that sort are not buying their guns. So what good is a gun, law and legislation for a person who don't get his gun the way that so-called law-abiding citizens might do? So is that just a front? Because if that brother said that certain things that are being garnered in these guns and the way that they get in these exotic guns, and if you get an exotic gun is one thing, but to be able to have the ammunition is another thing. So they're getting a full package. And then if you're giving people who, again, let's look at some of the stuff that was said in the video. It was talking about the water got lead in it. If you heard Slickly, what that news reporter had said, he said the writing was on the wall. Meaning, if you've been consuming lead, and they talk about, well, any dwellings that were, established since '86, they were going to stop that and now stop. No. It go back to, I thought it was 75. I thought it was 75 when you went to real estate school. They taught you 75, right? So you're talking about a people that I'm gonna read something. Let me read something. Let me see if I can pull this up right quick. Let's see if I can pull this up. It might work. It may not work because some funny shit been happening. Trying to do something, and it seems to be some fun. Yeah, it's doing it now. Okay. I'm still doing it, but I'll do it this other way though. I don't want to talk about that when I was a little bit more specific. But let's go to the Chicago riots of 1919. Now, if you heard the video that I did live a couple of days ago when I told you that the anniversary of the Virginia Southampton, remember that one that was back in 1619 they claim, right? The anniversary just happened, I think it was August 20th. So we're almost hitting that 400-year mark of the so-called first 20 Africans being reported being brought to this land that we call the United States. But you also have the Chicago riots of 1919, which means next year will make this 100 years. And let me give you a little reading on this. It says the Chicago riots of 1919 was a major racial conflict of violence committed by ethnic white Americans against black Americans that began in Chicago, Illinois on July 27, 1919 and ended on August 3rd. During the riot, 38 people died, 23 black and 15 white, and over 500 were injured. It is considered the worst of the approximate 25 riots during the Red Summer, so named because of the violence and fatalities across the nation. The combination of prolonged arson, looting, and murder made it the worst race riot in the history of Illinois. The socio-political atmosphere of Chicago was one of ethnic tension caused by competition among many new groups. With the Great Migration, thousands of African Americans from the South had settled next to the neighbors of European immigrants of Chicago's South Side, near jobs in the stockyard and meat packing plants. The Irish had been established first and fiercely defended their territory and political power against all newcomers. Post-World War I, tensions caused friction between the races, especially in the competitive labor and housing market. Overcrowding and increased African American militancy by veterans contributed to the visible racial friction. Also, a combination of ethnic gangs and police neglect strains the racial relationships. According to the official reports, the turmoil came to a boil after the death of an African American youth who had accidentally drifted to a swimming area at an informal segregated beach. Tensions between groups rose in a melee that blew up into days of unrest. William Hale Thomas was the mayor of Chicago during the riots, and a game of brinksmanship with Illinois Governor Frank Lowden may have exacerbated the riots, since Thomas refused to ask Lowden to send in the National Guard for 4 days, despite Lowden's assuring that the guardsmen were in Chicago and ready to intervene. Although future Mayor Richard J. Daley never officially acknowledged being part of the violence at the age of 17, he was an active member of the Irish Hamburg Athletic Club, which a post-riot investigation named as an instigator an attack on black Americans. In the following decades, Daley continued to rise in politics to become the city's mayor for 21 years. So, in 1919, not just in Chicago, you had Washington, you had East St. Louis, which is the other side of, really, if you say Chicago. You had Arkansas. You also had in Houston, right? You had riots because you got to remember our people were migrating from the South. And they were coming to these newly so-called Northwestern, communities and areas migrating again for the pursuit of, trying to make some more money to take care of their families and so forth. As they did that, they were now accompanied by these new people who knew nothing of them. Wasn't like it was in the South. But again, the South was they were trying to get away from what was going on because, again, they was dealing with Jim Crow. Right? So those who migrated end up going to certain segregated parts of the cities. You got Detroit, you got Chicago, like you got, New York, right? And so when you look at the Midwest, a lot of the migration from the South went in those directions. I'm not saying they didn't go west to California and things like that. I'm just saying what I'm trying to relate on this part here is so you got, they say it could have been 1 million of our ancestors who migrated. Some estimates 500,000. So when they got in these areas dealing with other poor whites, or who weren't even considered white at that time, they were fighting for the position to be classified as white. I listened to a show earlier today where they were talking about the Chinese being in Africa, and some people were thinking that, the relationship and so forth, but I had sent a message to them and let them know that, did y'all know that in South Africa, in, I think it was 1970, the families that were considered by East Asian families would be considered classified white, which would be Japanese, Taiwanese, Koreans, and Chinese, right? So they became honorary white. Now, when you see what you're seeing with China doing what it's doing, and you see they on this grand board of this chess game, they seem to be like they can do what they can do, right? Because they must be family, right? They family somehow. So these other Irish and Italians and those East Europeans, which are kind of like Jews, they were never classified white coming here. And so what they did is they garnered and got into these departments, as we said, police, as I read earlier at the beginning, remember the history of the police, and with that racial tension, how can you call the police when the police is going to be the cats that got the same kind of hatred as the dudes you out here rioting with, right? So if you look at Chicago, that got so ugly to the fact that, well, what they did is they started to burn down a lot of the facilities that they were living in. So to me, this is the beginning of what we see manifesting today, because it originated through that, now you got, you know what I'm saying, you got people who think they coming and they think they're going to, garner these jobs, and then they start to get these jobs, and then now they're competing with angry, lowly whites, and so that caused friction. And then you got the wars is coming. Then these jobs are seasonal, and so they create this welfare system for women, but they weren't talking about black women. They were talking about them white women. But by you being in these communities and these areas at this time, you could apply, and they made it strenuous and hard for you to get, but they had the stipulation that was designed to destroy and tear up. So now you got to kick the father out of the house, if and so forth, in order to have him make some little bread. You got to remember, if this is in the 30s, okay, they say 1919, if they're going to talk about when they started to migrate, or 1916, A lot of them coming is in the 30s and the 40s, but you know, history tells you that the so-called Depression happened. Now, imagine this. If white people going through the Depression, what the fuck is we going through? Huh? What the fuck is we going through? If they going through a depression, what the fuck was our people going through? You understand what I'm saying? Look like winter coming back again, y'all. Everybody got this economic, you know, and again, I'm optimistic, but I'm a realist. You know what I'm saying? I see what it is. I just know I'm gonna call it what it is. I'm not gonna, you know, try to put sugar on shit to make it sweet just so it can have taste when I know it's shit. You get what I'm saying? And so that's what's happening here is we get a lot of people who think that you can put some sugar on this shit and shit gonna be sweet. It's not gonna be sweet. It's just history gonna repeat itself once again, but this time based on those who seen that video I did. When you talk about this black internet, this black corner, I was the first one to put that out there. You know what video I'm talking about. White extinction. That video basically was a viral video for the black section. They had to stop it. In some sense, I kind of look at that video and think like, damn, I did it because that was the Spirit told me to do. But what I'm saying is it brought an attention that they knew we knew. Right? Now they know you know. And that bothers them. And so if it talked about it at a certain particular time, they would become a minority. They have to prepare for their prosperity, which is their children to come. They don't want what they think that should, like Malcolm said, the consciousness of them is what's eating at them because of what they know they've been doing to us. Again, as I take the reference of Chicago, they're getting guns that they don't know where they're coming from. They got a school system that just constantly is not there to, you know, education actually just means to bring out of you, right? Education means to bring it out of you. So if it's going to bring something out of you, but if you in something that can't bring nothing out of you, then do you expect that the people who depend on that as a way for them to, you know, explore and to grow and to develop, when you're giving them, let's say we're in the 21st century and you're giving them 19th century education. But then you also have plans that, okay, you're giving them lead in the water, which is tearing up their minds. The food that they get, and they only get it out of corner stores, a lot of nonsense shit like that. So what is it specifically about these people that you focus on so much? It doesn't take away from anybody else, but why you focus on them the most? There's something, because see, he knows more about who you are than you know about yourself. He has the records. He knows the real history to who you are. We try to sift through history and we try to connect the dots, right? And sometimes you might guess. It's like you taking the DNA test, and some people, that's sufficient for them. They could take the DNA test, and guess what? They tell you that you 15% this and 12% that and 5% that, and you okay. But guess what? You couldn't take that and go on that continent and go directly to somebody's door and knock on them and say, I'm home, family. You can't do that. So what good is it to tell me something that I can't really pinpoint? You're going to say, well, you know, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, pick any one of them, they from over here, you one of them. See, that kind of shit they doing with us. See, you destroy the people to a point that you know what you done did, but because, again, to repair them, you know, it's kind of like if you had a vehicle, you know, not you bougie mugs. I get a new car every year. You know, I'm a poor righteous teacher, so I'm just gonna tell you this. You know, when you get your money, your budget, what you live on, right, that kind of thing, and say you got a outdated car. Say your car about 5-10 years. I know some of y'all couldn't even imagine that, right? You can't have no 10 years. Oh my God. But I'm just hypothetically speaking. So you got that kind of car, and your car's malfunction, having a lot of problems and so forth. Get to the point that you tally up in your mind, you're like, it's gonna cost me to do this, it's gonna cost this, this, that, this, and that. And guess what? You done summed up in your mind, it's not worth it to fix it. Well, that's where they done came to the conclusion. So somebody who has, or some area or some places who have this, let's say, this population. I'm not saying in the South, because see, they already know about the South. They know who you are down there. It's these ones up here that came, and they not kind of like the same mind as them down South. What I'm saying is the relationship is different. See, down South, everybody kind of know their place, right? It could be cordial, but see, in these cities, it's a different game. Let's say Chicago. Chicago is so segregated. You got this Polish town over here. You got your Greeks over here. You got your Chinese over there. You got your, you know what I'm saying, the Jews over here. You got, you know what I'm saying? It's not like it's everybody living in some, again, melting pot. People have their own sections. Now, you have certain parts where you have a, you know, variety where certain people who, you know, fit a certain criteria and got into some shit, and they got it and they over there, but you know, it's not everybody know, you know, like when that situation I heard about with Vin Reams, how neighbors called police on him, knowing his ass lived there, talking about seeing a big black man, and called a popo on him, and they pulling guns on him. Like the neighbors and the motherfuckers they called didn't know it was him. Then when they asked about it, he's like, yeah, I didn't do it. They go to the house, I didn't do it. Right? See, you got people like that. You know, you force yourself. I heard some shit today where motherfuckers was saying that, you know, they work so hard to get away from their people. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that living amongst our people due to the dysfunctionalities and all the other shit that we have garnered through our, you know, our encounter here. Of course, you're going to have that kind of sickness. Of course, you're going to have that kind of dysfunctionality. But you who have a little bit more cognizance, you know, you're supposed to be able to understand. I'm not saying that you take and put your family to be in harm's way because of all the danger, because of the environments, but you don't say that it's better over here to get away from you, because see, when shit jump off, you can't be, ain't no helping you. See, that's one thing my phone think about. They thinking, okay, I'm safe because I'll jump over here. But if ship jump off tomorrow, you can't call nobody to come save your ass. So it would have been better for you to take your, you know, educated ass, your professional ass, and stay your ass right amongst them and show by example and teach and preach and show and give. And guess what? You could have did something collectively. We have a lot of people who got them papers now and can't do shit with it. But you could have did something that could have, you know, maybe changed a little bit. But see, everybody's so quick to try to run the fuck away that you won't get a place now where you ain't got no fucking place to run to. See? Because if they doing it here, when you find out, when you lift the cover or look up under the bed, if they was doing, like you're saying, what they did in Detroit, now they looking under the cover in Chicago and say, well, shit, they doing the same shit here. You're going to look where you ain't watched. They doing it here too. Baltimore, they doing that shit here too. You're going to find that they doing that shit everywhere. It just haven't been brought to the light yet. So ain't no safe haven getting away from your people. That ain't safe haven. That's you trying to be like, you know, I get it. Come on, don't get me wrong, because some people are like, oh man, no, come on, you crazy. I ain't gonna put my. I get that. I get that. I'm just saying that there was a point in time when we could have been developing where it couldn't have got to this level. But now the grass was greener other place. Then we got to the point where some of us wanted to build our own little areas, you know, sophisticated, Grey Poupon eating types that won't do that. And that, again, I'm not against none of that. I'm just saying because that's just what it is. When people fall into that game of status, class, well, somebody got to be left behind. Somebody got to be, again, as I said the other day, a democracy got to have a segment of society that has to be poor. Because what good is it to have all these institutions, jails and, you know, police and all that shit if you ain't got a segment of society that's got to go through that to keep them to getting the paycheck? So when rising of consciousness start happening, right, and people trying to get smart, somebody say we got to put that genie back on that damn bottle. Cause shit, hey, you remember that in what movie was that again with Goldie? Y'all know what I'm talking about. The Mac. Remember that scene where the two policemen was talking, and remember the brother, like you seen in my introduction, where it says this system was not built with us in mind. Remember, he took the brother and threw him in the back of the car and they drove. He said, if he keeps doing this, he keep cleaning up as a self-righteous black son of a bitch. If he keeps doing this, we'll be broke and we'll be on our asses. Right? Remember he said that shit? Yeah, because that's what happened. See, some people think that all you got to do is you do this and you can do that. No, you got to have certain motherfuckers out here fucked up. You understand? Otherwise, then how they getting the check? When if you know about those penitentiary areas, the black population is inside there, but outside around that area is all them, and most of them generations, 2-3 generations done work there. That's how they've been supplying and living. So you got to have that. You got to have that. So the point I just want to say is this: Chicago and all the chocolate cities that used to be, which they are now getting rejustified, right? Or rejustificated, right? They're getting gutted out. So where do you go? And then then, you know, I'm not talking about you that, you know, you done worked hard, got yourself a degree, and then got in there, got you a little corporate job, or you doing something where you making a nice little piece of money, a change or whatever. Okay, and your whole job is about, I'm going to take care of mine. But, you know, that's good. But like I said, if we understand the time and we seeing how this shit and all this shit is formulated. I mean, you even had this Omarosa thought, see, look how she thought the game was going to go. She thought she was going to go in the game, kiss up all that ass, do all this and that. You know what I'm saying? What she told her, showman, so they fucking each other and all that good shit. And that shit wore out. Like, man, look, them military motherfuckers was sitting in that White House, like, told Trump ass, said, look, hey, man, you can't keep that motherfucker sitting up in here like that. You getting this motherfucker sitting up in here, this motherfucker could be the spook who sat by the motherfucking door. It took for her to go through that. Now she was like, hey, y'all, they doing this. They gonna do this. We looking at her like, right. You get what I'm saying? Right. Because why? The way you came in. Look how you came in. You trying to act like you was like, oh, you didn't know he got down like that. He knew that. Okay, see, I'm just using her as an example because there's a lot of our people who like that. And everybody want to keep reversing and throwing it back and say, see, the way you is because you don't want this and you don't aspire to attain it. No, motherfucker, this game is designed. This game has interlockings and tunnels and all kinds of shit that you don't recognize. And you just think this shit is just what it is. And that's what the new generation always do. They think you got the blueprint, as if the people before you didn't have same aspirations, same desires. Because it's called a glass ceiling. You can see where the fuck you want to go, but your mate can't get there. But they're going to take you a little time to figure that. But guess what? We ain't got that kind of time. We ain't got that kind of time. Let's keep this shit real. Somebody got a plan. Their plan is not with you in it. And it don't matter how much you bootlaid with a motherfucker, all that. Because see, once he, it's like a piece of gum. You get a fresh piece of gum, you chew the shit's sweet, got flavor, taste, popping and all that good shit. Then after a while, you chew the shit, it's stale, don't got no taste. What you do? Put that shit in you throw it away. We ain't got no use for you no more. Ain't got no more use for you. Now what? You gonna beg and cry and plead? You can't go back. I can't go back, massa. I can't. You gonna have to go back. I ain't got no work for you. I have to do anything for you, massa. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Gonna be a lie, motherfucker. I'll do anything. Like, all right, I got a job for you. You understand? See? And that's what done happened. See, we done had people put in positions for years and years and decades to the fact there ain't nobody really want to deal with this shit. They just want to put it up and say it's gang related. That brother laid down some, he put down some shit, and I showed y'all, like, don't get me wrong. We got, there's beef that goes on. Because, again, what you expect? It's hard to get a motherfucking dollar as a black man. Now, I ain't talking about, now, see, when I say black man, I'm not encompassing all of them. Because, see, some of us, again, like, there's a show I seen out here, and they always be, these brothers here are supposed to be the ones who done went to school, got degrees, but they always sitting there talking about we can't get no women. Why the women don't be liking us? They only like the thug ass niggas. It's like this. But nigga, your problem is this. You went to school. You didn't hang out. You wasn't socializing, fraternizing, and doing all, developing your social game. Nothing wrong with that. There ain't nothing wrong with you, going to school and learning. The problem is you didn't build no character. You understand? So you get around girls, you don't know what the fuck to say. So what you did, now you done all this schooling, now you done got a 6-figure job, right? You finna use your material money and then wonder why you ain't staying with you, right? But the other cat that ain't go to school to get institutionalized is still in his natural element. He just haven't developed in a way that would be, if a sister goes and get a degree, she's going to be able to dot her I's, cross her T's. You know what I'm saying? She can speak proper. Matter of fact, she can run Massa business better than Massa. But when she want that real cat, she can't look at the dude at the damn getting the degree like her. You both got the same agenda. You're both trying to aspire. But something ain't clicking. See? Because, see, he become a yes dear, and you don't want a yes dear. You want a motherfucker that's going to stand strong. But, see, staying strong is, see, he got to be down here in the elements. He has to be out here on the street doing what the fuck and surviving and hustling and do what the fuck he got to do. Because in his environment, in his world, in that fishbowl world, you know how little goldfish be in there and all the colorful rocks? It ain't that big. He don't know nothing about them 55-gallon tanks. He don't know nothing about the lake and the river. He only know the fishbowl world. So you can't mix them two together. But if you do, you're breeding the same kind. And so these be byproducts of two people who got together, who got the same ambition. Like what Omarosa said, her ambition was to try to be a billionaire. So she got next to one and she did everything that she can to try to obtain to be like him. And then at the end, look at what's happening. See, it don't work. The same game wasn't built for you to do that shit. But you think that is. Y'all thought that's what it was going to be about. I could be totally wrong. And if I'm wrong, I will get on here and I will tell everybody, I will apologize. But I'm going to tell you, I know I ain't wrong. I know I ain't wrong. The reason why I ain't wrong is because you can see the shit. But some people trying to deny it. See, everybody trying to find another path around this shit when they showing you where it's going and where it's heading. But you say, no, we gonna do this, and we gonna do this, and y'all gonna have to do this, because this is how you ain't got time like that shit. You got other motherfuckers remember, there used to be Monroe Doctrine where your motherfucker couldn't come across, another nation couldn't come across over in this territory shit. They figured, well, shit, you over here in these nations putting businesses and then talking about you protecting it. Well, we're going to do the same shit. Now China in your back door. China over, shit. Mama be talking about, I be saying, again, don't get me wrong, for anybody who falls under this, I see people who from Jamaica who be out here trying to tell black Americans, descendants of this soil, what we should do and who we should be and who and all this shit, but you can't get that Chinese out of motherfucking Jamaica. But you over here telling me about me and my people, right? You're telling me and my motherfucking people who we should be classified, who we should be called by, and all this shit. But you can't get that motherfucker about your shit. You can't get them out of your shit. See, that's the problem. Everybody trying to tell us what we supposed to do and can't clean your own damn house. What they say? Don't look at the thistle in my eye without taking the thorn out of your own eye. First learn how to take the thistle out your eye, and then you can learn to tell me how to get the thorn out of mine. See, don't tell me how to clean. Don't come to my house, look at my house and judge my motherfucking house. Then I go to your house, your shit all fucked up. Get your shit clean, then you can tell me how you clean your shit, then tell me how to do it. Otherwise, shut the fuck up. That's what you do. Shut the fuck up. So, the Chicago business is going to be the catalyst that's going to be in all these motherfucking U.S. cities. See, they got to spark it. It's already set. They just need the light of the wick. I already told y'all going back. Because they got a case in Chicago that's strange as hell. For y'all who know about that Laquan McDonald story, how this police officer supposedly shot this boy 16 times. I'm still trying to figure out what kind of gun he had. What kind of gun did he have that he shot him 16 times and he never once approached him, nor lunged at him, was not even within the vicinity of him. And they've been fighting this case, delaying this case, pulling all kinds of tricks. Then I'm like, are they trying to pull something? Are they finna pull it? Because if they pull it, and it being in Chicago, I'm just saying. Because that shit just seems strange as fuck to me that they just did the Hadia, was a Hadia Pendleton, the little sister that got shot, that was supposed to went to Obama in the ceremony, and some brothers that was out there wilding slipped up and caught her up in the crossfire. Well, they've been showing that case, and they showing them and parading them, and I'm like, well, this case is getting resolved, and here's one where I mean, we know for a fact there is no defense, but they defending this shit. So I'm like, what are they finna pull with this? What are they really trying to pull? Okay, so there's more to that video. What I want to do, man, for y'all who hear me, and again, if you like the video, like it, share it. You know what I'm saying? Subscribe. Oh, okay, out the box. Am I good working the list? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, you are, brother. I'm going to get set up where I'm going to have y'all to call in after I do my presentation. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep putting those things together. And again, like I got history that I'm doing and stuff like that. So, but I'm going to keep informing about certain shit because, again, I don't knock nobody else's channel and what they do. That's what they is. You know, people have their different ways of looking at shit, right? Some things is taboo. They're not going to touch it because, again, it's, you don't look. Some people say they don't look good. They talking about certain things, and some people got things they got to protect, and some people are out here trying to get the money. You understand? I get that, but oh, I'm sorry. Okay, you're one. Okay, sister, I apologize for that. I thought out the box. Okay. Yes, your thinking, right? Your thinking is out the box. Okay, ask my husband. Okay, I'm working. Am I good working and listening? Okay. All right. Peace to your husband, right? But again, like I'm saying, I want to actually, I'm going to set up where I'm going to have either some panels or get some phone calls and about some other things. Again, if y'all got anything out there that y'all want me to get into some topics about, you can always send a Gmail. The Gmail address is droppin. That's DROPPIN serious knowledge at Gmail. Okay, I said it again. Droppin DROPPIN serious knowledge at gmail.com. You know, they're not going to let most of my, you're going to always see my numbers be low. Ever since I did that white, you know, you know the one I'm talking about, the white going out of extinction. And then I did the one that the Pope's letter the letter by the Pope to black people. That one got 50,000 in like a couple months. That one and that one got 275, and they said, "Nuh-uh, you ain't gonna let him be heard. You ain't gonna stop me. No, not him, not this one." See, the other cats, they got the numbers. They gonna have the number. I'm not gonna have the numbers. So that's why I decided I'm just gonna do it this way, which is I ain't about the numbers. I'm just gonna just tell you what I know. Again, you know that's my motto. I ain't gonna tell you what I heard. I'm gonna tell you what I know. And so. Okay, thanks a lot, sister. And so, you know, somebody has to have their ears to the ground, old school way. Put the ears to the ground so that you know what's coming, right? It used to be back then you can put your ear to the train track and you know how far the train coming and so forth. They used to do that. So we got people out here who are talking about a whole lot of things. Some people, they into whether the earth is flat. I don't know what the fuck flat or round earth got to do with motherfucker about to kill your ass. I don't get that. I don't get how people talking about whether we evolved from motherfucking shit, I don't know, some motherfucking gorillas to we evolved to a human. I don't understand what that fuck they got to do with us now. You know, people talk about science and talking about science don't lie. Well, let me tell you something. Till we as a people got institutions that we can do our own research to study what the fuck we need to study, then you ain't talking about no science. You can study shit. You can learn it. There ain't nothing wrong with that. But if you ain't got no institution where you doing independent research about shit that's important to you, because see, they doing what they doing. They have all the institutions set up to do what they need to do. And then we have people who were reciting and congratulate and say, we. Like, you know, like Malcolm said, we sick, boss. They talking about, I be hearing people talking about, this what we done. We ain't done shit. We just been here. We ain't done shit. Stop playing. Stop lying. Yeah, people good at that shit. They like trying act like you done did something. We a part of shit. No, motherfucker, you just here. Now, what he do is some Bible, you know, like Nebuchadnezzar. He'll take you the choices best out of your people. He gonna bring them in under them. He gonna teach them the game. He gonna give them a nice little comfort check, nice little life, give them a little status. They gonna stiff arm and get away from you, and now they think they something. But all they doing is putting a better cog in his wheel, helping him to fuck you up. Ain't that some shit? They ain't gonna talk like that. They not gonna speak the way I'm gonna say it. They not gonna say that because that's just what it is. See, they putting sugar on the shit. They're trying to act like the shit ain't what it is, but that's what you're doing. All you doing is making another motherfucking system better to do shit to you. To the fact that some of them they ain't even looking like they you. Like that, like I said, that Jesse Lee Peterson. I don't know if y'all be seeing that cat. I be like, man, I don't. Some motherfucker slammed that nigga like a touchdown on his head, and that motherfucker just went, I don't know what the fuck happened to him. But the shit he be saying, I be like, you caping for them so hard. You caping. I don't get you caping for them so hard, and you shit on us as if like there ain't no cause and effects to the way we are. We just want to keep putting it on this because people don't get education. That school ain't for everybody. School ain't for everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, I mean, you know, okay. Let's say out the box, her husband, she wife and her husband. Husband might want to watch some, you know, some sports, but she ain't into sports. That ain't her thing. She like watching something on YouTube or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It ain't for everybody. And we be trying to act like if you just put people in there, even who ain't built for that they still gonna garner and get something out of it. They just gonna, again, we haven't been able to use our real talents and our God-given gift. If we can't make him no money, then your talent ain't no good. And then you sit here pondering in your mind, why shit ain't working for me? It ain't got nothing to do with you. It's about what you in. You encompass in something. And most people ain't figured out what it is. No, you want to keep disassociating yourself about the past as if the past ain't got nothing to do with your present. Well, the past got a lot to do with your damn present, because that was, again, you are sum totals of all the shit that you done did. That's who you are right now. So if you try to act like that didn't happen, you can, what Teddy Penny can say, you can't hide from yourself. Dun, 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 dun. Huh? That's what he said, right? You can't hide from yourself. Everywhere you go, there you are. But people think that, you know, with this technological and social media, you can create and be whoever you want. What they say, to the catfishing, right? You find out it ain't what it is. See, I ain't for popularity. I ain't for all that, trying to be on, you know, all up on the screen and doing all that stuff. Oh, I'm a psychic too. I'm only BSing out the box. I'm on BSing. But normally that's the situation is the man to be into. Cause see, you know, as a brother, we grew up. That's what we did. I mean, we didn't come up having no money. We had to do, you know, a ball can. You can do a lot with a ball and a couple other niggas. Just waste some time and have a whole bunch of fun. It didn't cost you nothing but the damn ball. So that's why a lot of us be, you know, into the sports. It's because that's how we grew up, how we was doing what we was doing. Now you got other brothers who got different minds. It was on other shit. You know what I'm saying? Getting in motherfuckers' pockets and all kind of other shit. But primarily, most motherfuckers, they some kind of ball. Somebody got a ball. All you need is a couple brothers and shit. We can couple hours. We can blow a couple hours, just have some fun doing some shit we love to do. So, but women, you didn't have that outlet like that. So you watch TV, and while you was watching that TV, that white motherfucker was programming the shit out you, made you think Hansel and Gretel, and you know what I'm saying, Snow White and Cinderella. Your ass is sitting there, you black as you is right now, looking, and you could see yourself in that person. Ain't that crazy? Ain't that how that game work? That's how good this, you know, perfected white supremacy has become. It's been perfected to the fact that you got people out here who self-hating. They'll fight you because you want to be black. They fighting you because you want to be black. Like, why would you want to be that? Everybody hates that. Nobody wants to be that. Okay. All right. I see that out of the box, and congratulations, all I'm going to say. As him being what he is, it is what it is, because, again, as a whiteologist, I studies histories. I studies a lot of these histories, and that doesn't mean that necessarily just because somebody of their makeup, sometimes they just down for the cause because they understand what it is. And then again, I'm not sure what somebody's family background is totally made of. So, you know, sometimes when you a black sheep of a certain type of people, you gonna follow with the black sheep. You know what I'm saying? People do that when they black sheep's here, they gonna follow suit and be black sheep wherever they go. They gonna ride with them. But technically, let's just say, as you say, okay, that's why black dolls will only sell to black children and sometimes not even. Okay, right. Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, they're making these dolls that are considered to be black, but it's kind of a mulatto type doll. You understand? It's something wrong in the natural state of a Negro. Like, you don't really see too much in the Negro state. It has to be diluted. It can never be in its natural form, and if it does, it has to have some kind of, you know, taint to it, some ancient mama, some kind of, you know, some shit like that. Yeah, but they in his blood. You get what I'm saying? It's not like, I mean, he can't extract that, and I'm pretty sure, because again, you see people do these DNA tests, like they'll find out that what's in their background, and then what they end up doing is they'll be like, okay, like say, okay, if any of y'all watch that show, what's that show that come on with them, with that Chinese girl, the sister, the girl that played Tia and Tamara, she did her DNA. I don't know if y'all seen that. When she did her DNA. Now, you know, she went and married a white man, right? Now, on the show, she tries to come across like she a sister. And I ain't saying whether she is, I'm just saying she comes across. But when she took that DNA test, she was only like 45% African. She was 50% European. Now, all European don't necessarily mean that you white. It's just that, okay, it makes sense who you end up, you know, being with. It makes sense. And so when you look at all that and how they diagram their whole shit, if somebody whose heritage or descendants is coming from Spain, see, they try to make it seem like, well, classifying it as European makes you white. But then there's a period of history in Europe, especially in that particular area, where that got blacked out. You know what I'm saying? The Moors came up in there, and they blackened that up all the way up over to basically Italy, Corsica. They blacked all that up. So in the background, they're going to be, but some of them ain't going to recognize it. Like I think George Lopez said that they all got a black grandmama in the back room, you know, in the back room, right? So of course, but some of them will deny. They will deny that. And that's only because he's more true to himself. He know who he is. He don't deny that. So that part that you just said, because I'm not going to repeat that. I can read it, but I'm just saying what you said, that's obvious. I mean, they done did so much to the fact that, of course, everybody going to have a little disdain. I mean, they know that. But that's why they're so fragile of mind, because they think everybody hate them. And truth be said, everybody don't hate them. Sometimes you just don't like what a motherfucker doing. And they know what they doing. But see, some of the ones that you fraternize and socialize with couldn't help you if they wanted to. Because remember, Dick Gregory would say, they said, you know, them ain't, he said, white folk is about having billions of dollars. The motherfuckers who really running this shit. The other ones that people fraternize with, socialize with, relationship with, they just gon', you know, that's all they can do with you. They can have a certain hatred. They can benefit off their white skin, right? They got some privilege with that white skin, but they ain't got no power. Not all of them got power. So the younger ones have this mindset just because they have fraternized, socialized relationship with a lot of them, that I don't understand why some of y'all don't like them and have such and such. And it's like, no, there's a history. Even though poor ones felt like because they were white, they were better than, and you could never be better than them. And so this is where all this racial tension shit came from. But see, in your case, he knows who he is. He know deep down. So that's why, you know, he probably learned early. I don't know how long y'all been together, but I'm just gonna say to the fact that, you know, he knew that long before. Maybe he been other places before, but he done soul search and he knew where home was. So that's good. That's good. And that last comment you said, not too many other people do too. There ain't too many people like that. So again, I mean, I'm gonna go to the 3-hour minute. It's over 2:50. We got 10 minutes left. You know, then I might have to go out on that 10-minute. But I'm gonna try to do these shows daily because I got a lot of stuff. 97, okay. So y'all done put a 20 piece. Y'all done put a 20 piece in, huh? 20 piece and an extra biscuit on the side. 21 years, okay. Congratulations to both of y'all. You know what I'm saying? That's good, especially in this day and age. I mean, I would assume that y'all come out of a particular, either that Gen X, y'all in that Gen X, and a lot of us, we know you gonna have to be with, you can't, I mean, sometimes you look at today and you see the stuff they be doing, you be like, you know, if you was doing this situation probably, you know, they look like they might be having fun, but I think a lot of their ass is miserable. Cause see, they don't know to see to the way they trying to blame all this shit on Trump. Now, let's don't get it twisted, y'all. I'm talking about the way they try to blame racism on Trump, like he the motherfucker that made racism in this country. No, he just kept his shit 100. I could fuck with a motherfucker like him because that nigga, at least he don't lie. You know what I'm saying? He gonna keep his shit real. I'd rather for that motherfucker tell me straight up than have this other motherfucker who's smiling and beguiling and this nigga stabbing you in your motherfucking back. I'd rather for that motherfucker tell me straight. So they saying, no, you're not making us look good. Like, ain't about what the fuck you're looking like. It's about what you're doing. Everybody, we all know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? We know what a motherfucker doing. Well, out of the box, again, anybody got some stuff you want to talk, you can send me messages too, because I got about 9 minutes, and because I done did the video, I stopped it, but it's good enough. But thanks, Octobox. Yeah, I was gone. It was only because I took a little hiatus. Like I said, when you do these type of, you know, this channels and stuff, and you don't see the reflection of some of the things that you're doing, and the time consuming that it takes to create, and the mind and power energy that I have to, you know, compilate. Because I mean, some people, they look and they may just think I'm just throwing shit together. If you really understand the science and what I'm doing, I'm telling you a story and it all fits, right? And so I didn't do like that Indian. Did y'all see that Indian chick that went down to Google? Because she was pissed off. Like, she like, I know goddamn well I got people following me. My number should be reflecting. Her number reflects. She went down there. You know, they kept that shit on the hush, right? They put that shit on the hush because she went down there and I think I don't know what she killed a couple motherfuckers. I know she shot a couple motherfuckers and she supposed to have killed herself. But that shit got hushed down. Nobody want to talk about that. Right? That shit just kind of went away. Right? So we know they kind of manipulate shit. And so as a content creator and shit like that, when you don't see reflective of some of your work, you just kind of be like, okay, ain't nobody kind of feeling what I'm doing right now. And then I had went through so much shit as into the flip. Because see, when I finally got back on, because see, if you look, you'll see I've been on this motherfucker for 6 years. But my numbers and shit ain't going to reflect it, is because I went through so much fighting them, right? When it was once I tried to go with monetization, then they was everything that was doing this and this and that and that. And I was like, man, there's too much bullshit here. And I came in on the monetization at the end part of the game when they said they finna kill this whole black corner. All right, they killed the whole black. Remember, the black corner got dead for a minute. It was like when nobody out here, because everybody was. I'm glad that I came on the back end instead of coming in early doing it, because all them people who was getting that money doing for the, you know, the AdSense and all that shit, and start making, that was their livelihood, man, where them stories at? Some of them people fucked up. Some of them people was making some good, if you want to say money, and then they had pulled that rug from up under them. It fucked a lot of people up, you know. And so it's about killing this black corner. It's about certain information and certain people they don't want. And so I just went back into the drawing board and said, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. And it took a bit, and the reason I came out the way I did is because I didn't realize it had been 2 years. I was like, damn, 2 years? Because I looked at that one, I said, that was the return, that was in January. And I said, damn, it's August, man. It's August, and that was in January. I said, oh, shit, it's been 7 months. Let me get my ass out here. Because the one thing I can say for those who have subscribed, you stayed. And the numbers didn't fluctuate, and I was like, okay. Y'all didn't leave. So that's what pushed me to say, let me get my ass back in the game. So, out of the box, I appreciate your comment on what you said, sister and brother, husband, and the rest of you out here. I see about 8 people up in here. Again, like the video. I'm trying to see if these mothers gonna allow me to be in a search engine, because if you think I'm lying, go put in my name, and watch, you gonna see something gonna say I blows you're gonna see a different name gonna come up, like they created another name so that when people going, that you don't get to my name. It's some other I think it's a white girl too, right? So I was like, all this little trick shit to keep me, so it'd be harder when I put my shit on. And then when they get in, it ain't going through. You see, I got videos like 3-4 years on certain topics, ain't got no views. So it's a blockage in there, and I'm cool with it. That's cool. I just gonna have to go through subscribership. You gonna have to be the one that's gonna have to build this channel up. Y'all gonna have to help me do that. I'm gonna bring the fire. I'm gonna keep bringing. I'm gonna bring it every time. But y'all got to help. Y'all got to help, because otherwise, you know, it ain't gonna be able to get done. So, yeah. Wow. Okay. 10K. Yeah. Okay. I see that. That's what I'm saying. A lot of people got hurt on that transition between them using PewDiePie, right? They use him as the catalyst, just like they doing the Alex Jones, which is they coming back again, right? They're gonna come back again and do another sweep. Cause see, Willie D, I don't know if y'all watched the Willie D channel. Did y'all watch that a little bit? He gone too, right? Well, he ain't well, put it this way, he in litigation. He fighting that. Now this other nonsense, they'll let that play all day. But don't be trying to feed people to get them informative. Like, you know, I'm gonna keep you up on the history. I'm gonna keep you up on that. Well, I wouldn't. No, I mean, no. If I do that right, again, yeah. Because see, that's a certain segment of people on the internet that if you talk that, of course you're gonna get. If you do, well, okay, they say do fuck shit, you do all that bullshit. Oh yeah, it's gonna be easy. I see motherfuckers eating food and cooning and shit. They getting all kinds. But if you come in here and you start telling about some real shit, you ain't finna get looked at. You ain't finna get no numbers. You know what I'm saying? And I be wondering if motherfuckers even know they're even going to your channel when the video even drop. I be wondering that too. So I don't be knowing, right? So it is what it is, y'all. It is what it is. I mean, I ain't gonna fret over it. It is what it is. I went through my growing pains with them. Again, 6 years. I should have had done way more, but even during them 6 years, man, how many computers I done went through? I don't even want to put all that out. I tell you, y'all. Okay, did you see on the 21st? Okay, the 20th I came out, right? It was working, and then all of a sudden, the next day I did live. That motherfucker wouldn't work for shit. So that's why I took 2 days off trying to revamp. What the fuck did it do? Then the motherfucker, again, it is what it is, y'all. But I'm coming on that 3 hour mark. I want to thank everybody for being here. showing some kind of love, keep me inspired to come with some more and better content. And again, you know, if any questions or anything that you might want me to do as in history wise and stuff like that, or topics or something like that, out of the box, I ain't touching the boobs. You can forget that. I ain't touch no boobs, right? That ain't my forte. You're going to have to find somebody else out here, because the minute I do that, then all my credibility go right out the damn window. If I have any credibility, it's going to go out the damn window, right? So I ain't going to do that. But again, you know, it's already my one. It's one where I'm at. So again, I'm just appreciative that y'all even taking y'all time out tonight to even come over here and even listen to what some of the stuff I'm talking about, right? You could be doing a lot of things, right? Especially this time, and I guess afterwards you probably will be. But when I did come on, I did see people come in. So again, I want to thank everybody who showed up tonight. If you didn't catch it from the beginning, go back and see the review of it. Okay. Okay. Well, put you can send a Gmail at the dropping those lowercase. All this is lowercase. Dropping DROPPIN serious SERIOUS knowledge KNOWLEDGE at gmail.com. Anybody who wants to get in contact with me, that's what you can do. This gonna get better, y'all, because I'm a one-man band over here, and so as the more I keep doing this, the more I'll be able to be more fluent with it, and when I get this phone system put to it, then we can talk directly. Won't have to be just me reading on the screen, and that'll be coming real soon. So again, y'all, it's at the 3-hour mark. Didn't know I was gonna go this long. But again, I'm appreciative that y'all took some time out tonight. Come over here and listen to a brother. And even those others who understand where I'm coming from. Because see, you can even have people on the other side that they know what it is. They know what this is. But they know they don't have no real power to do nothing about it. They know. So they do little things, you know what I'm saying? They do little stuff. And, you know, my whole thing is, it's only right for me as a person who comes from and who is, you know, we victims. I know a lot of people, that's another thing. A lot of people don't feel comfortable by saying you're a victim, because they say, well, I ain't no victim. See, they about doing for self and pulling self up by the bootstrap. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. The only issue is, if this is supposed to be a land that calls itself of justice and equality and rights and abide by the law, shit, if you do wrong, okay, then you have to, you have to compensate. You have to, what they call it, so you got tort, and then what's the other one? It's another one that you do for injury. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I know tort came up, but I know that's not the right word. But, you know what I'm saying? You have to compensate somebody for that, for those injuries. And I know, like I said in my analogy, I said it done got so big that to the fact that, again, you just say, fuck it. You would rather deem to the world and make them seem crazy as fuck so that you can justify and do it and saying, well, see, we had to put them out their misery. But you caused the misery. This ain't, I mean, you Kathy Bates and shit. And we, motherfucker, sit laying in the bed and shit, tied and bound up, and you want to hobble a motherfucker, right? And then say, but Paul, I love you, right? That kind of bullshit. That kind of, you know what I'm saying? That kind of shit they got us in. Paul, but I love you. Oh, shit, fuck that. What he do when he caught our ass slipping? All right, that's right. Misery loves no company. Damn it, shit. So, 3-hour mark. So I'm gonna close out the show. You know I gotta give y'all the end. Let's see what I got at the end for y'all. I think I'm gonna go back with this one I did back in last year. So lastly, I'm gonna close out tonight again. Let me see if I can pull that up. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let me see if I can pull it up. Hold on.
Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers.
Good night, folks.
Viewer discretion is advised.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right?
You have been sold a lie.
Hold on, y'all. I ain't do that right. Didn't do that right. Something go right. Hold on. Hold on, that didn't go right. Okay, never mind. I got you. I got you. Let's do this. Do this right. Go back, do that right. Okay. All right. Again, you know what my motto is, y'all? I ain't telling you what I heard. I tell you what I know.
Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right?
You have been sold a lie.
Let me out! Let me out!
The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system that they will fight.
Hail Trump! Hail our people! Hail victory!
I don't know why we leaving Mouse's house. He been good to us. He feed us on Saturday, close us on Sunday, and then beat us on Monday.
This saving my money. That is the most ridiculous piece of philosophical bullshit I have ever.
And the game's over when the white ball drives the black ball completely off the table.
I just want to say, you know, can we all get along? Can we get along?
He had sex with a white girl, that's what. I say,
yeah! I want revenge! Yeah!
So you must be dangerous.
I want you